for the top continental job. Speaking at the launch of the stakeholders meeting for the African Green Climate Finance National Designated Authorities Network, Environment Cabinet Secretary Aidan Duale rallied his support behind Bryler, saying he has enough knowledge and experience about African matters and that his performance was clearly seen when he was Prime Minister, where President William Ruto himself worked under him.
And to the Right Honourable Raila Odinga for his presence. His role as our candidate for the African Union chairperson and his experience as a former special envoy for infrastructure development are very invaluable and very dear to us. And because I have an opportunity here, let me say it, the current president or the Minister for Agriculture, my friend, me and Honorable Badi were deputy ministers busy answering questions in those days. So we know our candidate. We know his experience, statesman, a pan-Africanist to the continent.
Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Badi on his part persuaded African country leaders attending the conference to elect Raila to the post of AU chairmanship, adding that Africa cannot go astray under Raila's leadership, as he was as well a good ambassador for the environment and efforts to face the effects of climate change.
If there is anyone Africa needs to champion as a champion of issues of climate change, then that person is none other than Right Honourable Raila Odinga. There, I am sure we can't go wrong.
Making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Sasa baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui, lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief. A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ, when he slapped those guys and walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa, took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's Friday. What's happening on the roads where you are this morning? Let's look at Nairobi and we'll know that there will be some westerly exits. Getting into the weekend, we'll take a look at Waiyaki. We're heading out in Limuru, Naivasha, Nakuru direction, and it's likely to pack up at some point. We're going to look at that as we get into Friday proper. Apart from that, nothing is really rumbling just yet on the streets. We'll see some movement on Jogo Road as it heads towards Landis and then touching on Haile Selassie here and there. I think we're just waking up in the city this morning. Let's look east and coming in onto Mombasa Road. Nothing happening here just yet. On Uhuru Highway, then getting into the city, I think we'll see some movement as you then touch on Haile Selassie at the junctions. And also before that, Langata Road, Lusaka Road on the other side, Bunyala Road, and coming in from Upper Hill. Everybody touching on Uhuru Highway, getting through the city, I think we'll be okay for this morning. We're going to keep an eye on things and see how they all develop as we get into Friday proper. Let's talk SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yo, it's Friday, the second Friday of the week, the Friday for real. And at 11 minutes after 6 o'clock, I say to you good morning. Do you bid people good morning? When you bid, you're normally saying goodbye.
That is actually how it is. We were taught to use that particular phrase.
No.
Word, yes.
When you're bidding, you're going. Okay. So I greet you good morning. Hello. How are you this morning, CT?
I'm actually very well.
Very well. How did things go yesterday?
4-hour service. It's good. It's a beautiful send-off.
That's good. It's good. It's good.
The testimonies are good. You know, there are people whom, when you hear testimonies of, you can see that people are struggling.
Okay, sorry.
They're trying to find something, at least passable to say.
Wow.
In this one, there was no such thing. It was an outpouring. People spoke and spoke and spoke and spoke and spoke, and everything was positive.
That's great.
I even felt that we didn't even get to the heart of the matter, because this lady was one of the most wonderful people I've ever known.
Oh, bless.
It's a person it's very rare to come across your person. Very rare.
Well, I'm glad you got to do that, to do the send-off. Anki, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine. Everybody's asking where we got Ado from. So, Anki Doris Ombat. Ombat. Oh.
The M has to come.
Ombat.
Good.
Anki Doris Ombat. That's where I got Ado from. She's not Ghanaian. She's not Nigerian.
No.
It just happens to flow in very nicely. Abi?
It has a rhythm.
Exactly. Abi?
And a rhyme.
So when we say Abi, you say Naso. Abi?
Naso.
You're a natural.
City? Abi?
Naso.
You had to bring in the feel.
This one's name is Chukuma, so he understands what he's doing. In fact, it's the I'm going to colonize all of you at this point. You're fine. You're fine though.
Yeah, I'm easy. I'm fine. Thank God it's Friday. I'm ready for it.
Good.
Yeah. Not many plans for the weekend, but I'm hoping I can have some after this show.
Alrighty, we'll see. In case you all want to know, I'm all right.
Oh, okay.
Hi. Good morning. I'm fine.
Oh, Lord, City. We are not good people.
Oh, no.
No, we're not good people. She's always doing it.
She rushed into it.
Oh, she didn't give us time.
Yes, we're definitely going to ask how she's doing.
We care about you.
Okay, here we
go.
See?
You're like everything. You're like the salt in the
Du was on
samosa.
a fishing expedition. You don't know how this lady thinks.
La.
Says, no, this thing is not coming in.
Oh, it's going to come?
So let me fish for it.
Okay. Patience.
She's going to say hello to me, I'm fine.
Tunakupenda.
Just in case you are... What? What?
Ndakuyanza.
Nakuyanza is what now?
Nakuyanza, my baby. Something like that.
I think somebody needs to have a conversation with
her.
No,
it's a South Soul song.
No, it's just morning thing.
Yeah.
There are many things that you must sort of like give a pass.
You guys are overthinking.
No,
we'll just allow you. There's no problem.
Overthinking.
What are you doing?
Talking.
It's no problem. Everything is okay. You just be okay where you are. Okay, guys.
Wow.
A number of conversations lined up for you this morning. Hope everybody's doing all right. Getting into the end of the week, and we're going to wrap this up with a few of those conversations today. Let me tell you what we'll be going through. Right at We're starting from the beginning, are we not?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have a conversation at 8 a.m. with Naisula Lesuda, who is the Member of Parliament for Samburu West constituency, strengthening the women's leadership agenda. And she'll be here with us to talk about that. And then at 9 a.m. with counties embracing culture as a tool for socio-economic development, two gentlemen, Jeffrey Chabari and Kitavi Kaloki, will be here with us at 9 a.m. for that conversation. We'll have a Healthy Friday conversation at 7 o'clock, and we'll look into those details as well in terms of what we'll be talking about. I see you guys all in the room this morning. Where are you tuned in from? On, around the country and on our live stream platforms. YouTube up, yes, streaming with you this morning. Also on X, on Facebook, and on TikTok. Karibu sana and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. And we're getting into it this morning. How about we take a quick look at what the skies will look like getting into the weekend, and then we'll come back and say hello to you and get into it.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge. Muga, not Muga.
He's here, and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman, another man marries troubles.
Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It would die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same IBC.
You can't.
I tell you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Because kina Edna, it's the, like you said, the B's and the P's. Kila kitu mkisia kisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema hii anasema opposite.
Opposite.
Ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice. The only way to start your day. The weather with Spice FM.
14 degrees and cloudy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 22 and lows of 12, and it's 15 and cloudy in Nakuru with highs of 22 and lows of 13. 13 and cloudy in Nyeri with highs of 19, and into a clear Nakuru, Eldoret, I beg your pardon, we'll see highs of 21 and lows of 13. It's cloudy in Mombasa at 23 with highs of 29, and in Malindi at 24, partly cloudy with highs of 29. 19 and partly cloudy in Kisumu with highs of 28, while at 17 it's partly cloudy in Kakamega going to highs of 27 and lows of 16. Into Kampala, clear at 18 with highs of 27, while Dar es Salaam is cloudy through Friday with highs of 30 and lows of 23. Johannesburg, 9 degrees, cloudy conditions with highs of 19, and into Mogadishu it'll be cloudy with highs of 28 and lows of 24. 13 and partly sunny already in Addis Ababa with highs of 19 and lows of 11. Lagos will be cloudy into the weekend with highs of 27 and lows of 24, while at 22 it's cloudy in Kinshasa with highs of 29 and lows of 20. 30 and sunny conditions in Beijing with highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 26 in a mostly cloudy Paris. It's 18 and cloudy, winds coming in into London with highs of 23 and lows of 15, and we're all things out in New York where Thursday night is clear at 20. Coming into Friday, highs of 25 and lows of 16.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Hey, okay. With my excitement to greet you, things got stuck. There are people in the room this morning. And we can see you all live and direct. Good morning, Peter Kiarie. He says you tuned in from Mombasa and listening. Great to have you in the room. Raphael Kige says, spiced up team. Indeed, here we are. Good morning, Ndu, CT and Anki. The question before Americans is, will a vindictive, vile villain violate voters' vision? Hey. Don, the alliteration this morning is confusing my tongue. It? My goodness. So essentially what you're asking is, what will Donald Trump win the election? Let's see. Linus Gitonga says, good morning, blessed team. I'm sorry, I will say Linus. It's not Linus. It's line. No.
Linus.
Nope.
That's not nice.
Nope. Sorry. I am unable to can that. Desmond Otis says good morning, tuned in. Oh, this is interesting. Ndu, Edna Ombaso, Gen Z CT, and the ever smiling lady. The ever smiling lady would be you. Are you always smiling?
Gen Z CT, that's where I get stuck.
Oh, you're stuck there.
Yeah.
Gen Z CT.
Honorary Gen Z.
Huh?
Honorary Gen Z.
Oh, honorary Gen Z.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so.
You know, once upon a time, in the days of apartheid,
the days of yore.
Yes. If you were black in South Africa, you were black. You were consigned to some Bantustan or something.
Yeah.
But if you came from another African country that the ruling minority thought was friendly to them, you could get a visa as an honorary white.
An honorary white, even though you were black?
Absolutely and completely.
Oh, wow.
Indigo.
And navy blue.
Yes.
Très intéressant. And the ever smiling lady. Are you always smiling? Have you ever heard that before? That you're always smiling?
I've heard it before, but I'm not always smiling.
Even now you're smiling.
I mean, when I'm sleeping, I don't think I am smiling.
You don't know that you're asleep.
Oh, now you can record it. You can record yourself when you're sleeping. It's creepy, yes, but you can.
Have you ever?
No, I haven't. But at least.
So you don't know?
Oh, wow. Who sleeps smiling? But I think it's a good thing. It's a compliment.
Children sleep smiling, actually.
Oh, do they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Mine doesn't.
Do not worry. Give him her.
Him.
Give him time.
It will come.
It will come.
Don't worry.
Well, thank you.
Happy Friday from the East Coast, says Sky Simba. Anthony Karanja is tuned in this morning. Robert Mbogo is also here. Ngugi Dan says good morning. Tuned in. Jambo Wangwana. Cecilia Ongwenyi says good morning. Team Spice, happy Friday. Keep building the nation. Matthew Kivara says good morning, wonderful people. Tibbs Muge is saying a stitch in time saves 9. Stitch it up, guys. Bonjour from Abidjan, Alfred Karaoke, CT and the Ladies. Sounds like another garage band. Think about it. CT and the Ladies. We're pulling up a record. It's slamming.
You know, when you say
jamming.
CT and the Ladies, it sounds like that band, KC and the Sunshine Band.
Exactly. That's what I thought about. Yeah. Or the Supremes. Yes. CT and the Okay. But now
it was Diana Ross.
It was Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Okay, we're closer.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning to you, Alfred. Okay. Quite so many people already in the room this morning. Joel Odondi says Kansas is represented. Abraham Kimeli says good morning. Joe Mungai is also here and says when we fight, we win. Amenu. Abu Dhabi is where Japheth is. Carol anatupenda sana. Tunakupenda pia. Leo, good morning, Princess Ndu. Good morning, Leo. How are you this morning? I'll tell you that princess story another day, but it's true.
Okay, it's not like I was going to say anything.
No, I'm just telling you. My grandfather's a king.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you're in the presence of royalty. Don't just be seeing me like that.
You see that proverb? King on a rope?
City.
Chief on a rope.
Why are you whistling into the yonder?
Is it true?
Well, I'm thinking of, it was a book, The King and I. Or was it a movie?
Oh, so it's a movie, The Princess Story. Yeah.
Well,
she's not really a princess.
Well, she is a princess if you believe the story of the Princess and the Frog.
If you believe.
I will find you because I know where you live. Okay, Irish, where is Latif? Latif is on leave, so don't worry about it. He's taking some time and he will be back. Let's just get through a lot of you this morning. Gugi Dan is tuned in, and yes, that's what my t-shirt says this morning. You are never too important to be nice to people. How about that for an end to our greeting this morning? Everybody who streams into the room every day, very, very happy to be able to have these conversations with you, and thank you for being here and keeping that audience up. Okay. We are still in Chad, where the capital is N'Djamena.
The capital was, is, and continues to be N'Djamena.
Okay.
Right. Today is Friday, isn't it?
Right.
It is.
He who wants to be famous will have many sleepless nights.
True. Why is it so direct?
It's Friday. You want to keep things simple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He who wants to be famous
will have many sleepless nights.
This is true.
Is it before they're famous or after?
That one choice we leave to them. When they're trying to be famous, they'll have sleepless nights.
Yeah.
When they become famous, they will also, in fact, the sleepless nights will increase.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the interpretation.
Oh.
This should be interesting.
Well, it's hard work, ne? People think that you just do 1, 2, 3 things and you'll get into the limelight.
Or you tell people you're famous and
or you say I'm famous and then they believe you. No, you got a lot of things to do. You have agency to collect. You have social capital to, put into your pocket. You have to get people to at least recognize you. You have to do things that are going to make them recognize you. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of work, elbow grease put into it. It's going to put some hair on your chest, but I guess it pays off.
Is that in Kenya? Is there a scenario in Kenya?
Could be anywhere.
You carry githeri in a line and...
Well, actually...
You eat your garlic and throw it up and you're famous.
Yes.
And you do some weird things on social media and you're famous. Do they really sweat?
But you need to do something.
The thing is this. Fame doesn't have to be lasting. It could be fleeting, as it usually is, but it's fame nonetheless. Even if you're just famous for a day, you're famous. Even if you're famous for a week.
Right.
But fame has a sell-by date.
This is true.
Yes.
It is.
And then you're referred to as former.
Sorry. Oh, what's in this X?
Excuse me. Former famous.
Yeah, former famous.
Okay. The former famous celebrity.
Let's see what people have to say about that today. All right, let's take a quick look into the headlines. Let's do headlines really quickly and then we'll take a break to look at traffic. But for now, a boom for teachers and a strike threat. Hey, I thought they released money.
There's always a boom for teachers. This is not the first time we're hearing about this boom for teachers. The thing is, we think it's a boom. Do the teachers think it's a boom?
Well, that's a strike threat that's still very alive, and that's what's on the front page of the Standard this morning. Teachers to receive a salary increment of up to a whopping 2,750 shillings a month, in addition to increased allowances in the second phase of a pay deal. Even as unions push for a strike beginning Monday after talks with TSC on demands failed. So, there was the threat of a strike. 30 billion is said to have been released from Treasury. And folks are saying, yeah, that's nice. However, Monday, we still strike. Let's see. CS's Duale Mbadi sell Ryla's bid for Africa talks. I am not surprised. Mwangaza, the governor they refused to save. NSC bond mark cross the 1 trillion shilling mark. Kamala's speech of her life, that was actually an electrifying speech that she gave at the NDC. It was very, very interesting to watch. Now, police chiefs in court over the death of a protester. Some people are being held, others are being questioned. It's not a pretty picture. All right, what's on the Nation?
Well, how farm bagged 1 billion shillings edible oil tender by, guys? Email.
That's the way to do it. Is there any other way of getting it?
Is it?
Well,
this is where it gets sweeter.
This one has details because we often hear of people who've gotten tenders. This one is giving us details, so please tell us.
Yes, it is. Now, a local farm easily clinched a 1.1 billion shillings contract to supply edible oils without applying for it. So they were approached for it. The farm secured the lucrative deal through an email notification and was never required to provide proof of certification to supply goods fit for human consumption.
Okay, we'll look at the details of that because right now...
wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gigiri jailbreak, that is senior police officer and his junior in the soup. Okay, students ordered to register for SHIF, all right, before schools reopen on Monday. How much time do they have?
Before Monday, okay, I don't know.
2 days.
Yeah, but they all have to register. Okay. And Ruto gets entry into Ryla's base. Politics just getting more interesting. And that is pretty much it for the front page of the Daily Nation.
Okay. City.
The Star. Top right-hand corner in burnt brown. Sorry, what did we call it again?
Burnt orange.
Burnt orange, yes.
Oh, that color is beautiful.
Yes.
You see?
Is DP Rigathi Gachagua silence calming or is it cause for alarm? I wasn't aware he was silent, but anyway. There it is. It's a question that has been asked. Bounty on murder escape. E as court frees cops in Saga. Okay. The police have offered cash prize for the arrest of Kware murder suspect Collins Jumaisi, who escaped from custody at the Gigiri police station on Tuesday. even as a cop, freed officers who had been arrested for allegedly aiding the escape. Okay? It's fine. Shut down looms as teachers and Matatu vow to strike. What's the comment? Yes, I'm
well, not together, but I'm assuming separately.
So don't go to school, and there's no means to go to school anyway.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Hey.
They all want to push their strike threat, and make it real. That is for Monday. So this Monday is going to be thick.
Monday is going to be great.
All right. Special tender. Okay, that thing you mentioned?
Yes.
The Stars also mentioned probe. Only 3 firms supplied oil in 16 billion shilling deal. The controversy surrounding the 16 billion edible oil deal has deepened. After it emerged that only 3 firms supplied the commodity. The revelations emerged during a meeting with KNTC strategy General Manager Lucy Anangwe. Okay. Bang in the middle of the paper, campaign. Odinga facing off with 4 rivals for top position. This is good. Raila steps up AU bail with 19 states support. 19 have already told him, Raila,
we got you.
You are our guy.
Yeah.
You have nothing to fear. We are with you. Okay?
This thing, is it by secret ballot?
I don't know, but he needs for you to get this. He needs 34.
And yes, 19.
19 or 18?
He's got 19 in the bag, sitting.
He needs Kenya also.
It's important that he gets Kenya.
Okay.
So in the 19 or 18, Kenya isn't there yet?
I'm hoping so.
We would hope that they are, but I'm telling you, this world.
This is Kenya.
Where?
Kenya.
But Kenya is number 1. We are the number 1. If you look at the list, we are first. East Africa is doing good. Uganda is supporting, Southern Sudan is supporting, Tanzania is supporting, Rwanda is supporting, and so forth.
Is Nigeria supporting? I can talk to somebody.
Yes, Nigeria is supporting.
I mean, Nigeria actually, Olusegun.
Olusegun Obasanjo.
Okay.
Yoruba, his name is Yoruba, so the S is always shh. Olusegun.
So I've said it. Okay.
No.
This whole time.
It's a learning process.
Don't worry. Everything.
Oh yeah, thank you, City. Very comforting.
Yes. He support is many.
Yes.
Ghana, Ndani. DRC, inside. Algeria. Republic of the Congo, the one we visited the other week. Okay. Malawi. Okay. Rwanda, Burundi, those ones are in. East Africa, sold. Zimbabwe, South Africa, Nigeria, Zambia, Angola. This one is Guinea-Bissau is right in there. And the Seychelles. Not bad. He's actually traversed the continent nicely. There's north.
Okay. There's north, there's south,
central.
There's central representation.
It's very good. Very good.
Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Yes.
Shall we do traffic, really?
Yes,
quickly. And then we can come back and look at the details of these stories. The edible oil ones, teachers, big stories for us to look into this morning. A quick look at traffic. We'll be back after this.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to...
Nairobi, get ready. The Cradle Study Abroad World Fair is coming to you. Meet top international universities, apply on the spot and secure partial scholarships. Get student visa and accommodation assistance all in one place.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast.
Now, by the way, see, I thought you are...
No, I know what you are thinking.
Now, when you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital, they have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information.
Okay, so not much in terms of traffic still trickling into the city this morning. Westerly traffic is actually interesting because it's going out on Waiaki Way through in that direction, and it's moving quite well. Off the Thika Superhighway, we're not seeing much, not for now. We probably won't see high levels of traffic today. Still, it's interesting how times of the month and, affect traffic. On Uhuru Highway, then getting into the city, also that is just starting to pile up. We don't even see anything right on the Pangani underpass. So we're moving into the city with no problem. On the interchanges, Southern, also then looking at Langata interchange, and then also then looking at the interchange around Cabanas. Nothing much happening here. We'll keep an eye on things as we get into Friday proper. We'll talk SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Situation
and everything nice. Alright, okay. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so looking into some stories. This one, you know, we want to look at it as though it's just another time where somebody's striking and they say, okay, they'll get over it. This is happening at a time where students are going back to school. This is happening at a time where universities have opened for this semester admissions. And there are talks that have been going on with the TSC. There's a CBA that has been in place that has not been adhered to completely. And things are looking quite dreary at the moment. So boom for teachers. They're calling it a boom, but there's a salary increment of 2,750 shillings. Akinyi, you're asking, yes, that's actually the number. Now, I just want to look at the category so that you can understand. The B5 new minimum salary, 23,830 shillings, with a new maximum salary of 29,787. C1 from 29 to 37, C2 from 38 to 47, C3 from 45 to 59, C4 from 52 to 68, C5 from 62 to 79, 78 to 96 is D1, 92 to 112 is D2, 106 to 129 is D3, 118 to 146 is D4, and D5 is 131 to 162. Now, if you look at details of exactly what this all means, it seems as though the talks continue, but it seems as though folks are not agreeing. Teachers to receive a pay rise. The 13 billion shillings that has been released by the state is what is being called a salary deal. Calculations by the Standard reveal that teachers will just get an increment of 25750 for the least paid to 393 for the highest earners, as in 339 shillings, 393 shillings. This means that the new salaries of the lowest paid teachers will range from between 23,830 to a maximum of 29,787. And the new salary scales for the highest paid teacher will range from a minimum of 131,389 to a maximum of 162,539. In addition, teachers will also benefit from 4 allowances: commuter, house, leave, and hardship. They will range from 3,850 to 50,000 shillings. Those who will get housing allowance will be paid 3,850 and up to 50,000, while leave allowance has been put between 4,000 and 10,000 shillings. Teachers who will get hardship allowance will be paid between 6,600 and 38,100. Now, the chief executive of the Teacher Service Commission, Dr. Nancy Macharia, said the salary adjustment will be reflected in teachers' August pay slips, with arrears backdated to the 1st of July, when implementation was set to begin. This means that teachers will get more money at the end of this month when the backdated amounts are released. They're calling it a boom, and it comes after the teachers received a similar increment last year in the first phase of the 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement. It goes on, and in terms of what they will get. Now, the unions are saying, thank you very much, but that's just not enough. They say that issues must be resolved, and these include a review of the career progression guidelines and remittance of third-party deductions. The unions also want issues on medical scheme resolved so that members can access public and private hospitals. Teachers in Coast Nakuru confirmed that they will be on strike next week. So you guys can sit in Nairobi talking about whatever you want to talk about, but until we see this thing, hardcore evidence in the flesh, sisi shule Monday hatuendi. Yep, that's what it looks like. This is all happening when the clock ticks for parents to register learners for the new health cover. I'm wondering, have we heard about this before?
For students?
Yeah. Did we hear that students needed to be registered for shift before Belio Kipsang said it yesterday?
I speak for myself, really. I might have missed it.
The registration has been ongoing for quite some time. The issue of shift.
For children, for school-going children, CT, not...
I know it was there for all Kenyans.
For everybody, yes. But it says that they have 3 days to register for the new medical cover under the Social Health Insurance Fund. This means that parents have a short time to comply with the Ministry of Education directive contained in a circular which was dated on the 16th of August. Today is what? 23rd, a week ago.
Okay.
I was confusing it with the healthcare arrangement that was there for students.
That one is the one that it doesn't exist, Elimu. That one that has been abolished a while ago.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. Now,
so this one is a bit new.
It is brand spanking new. The National Parents Association is even saying, okay, it's great, it's wonderful that students will be under this cover, but here's a suggestion. Can you give us a little bit more time?
Communication.
Come on. It's the thing is last week on Friday and they're going to school on Monday.
It's always the same thing.
Why don't you give us some time?
I mean, this is even more detailed on the Daily Nation's back page. Let me read a bit of it. And they're saying in the new scheme, every Kenyan aged 18 and above will be required to make mandatory contributions. Of course, that I think we knew. But the Ministry of Education wants children to be registered with the Social Health Insurance Fund before the schools reopen. And then Education Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang said learners are required to register as dependents. Of their parents in the new scheme, which is expected to replace the, of course, National Health Insurance Fund. And so
my thing is, I'm sorry, just to cut you short. It's as though Belio Kipsang and his office, they know very well that in 3 days, not possible that over how many million students would have registered as dependents for Shift SHA, whatever it is.
Over weekend.
He knows. So why make that proclamation? Or you want to say it so that now you come back later and say, okay, by dint of whatever, we have extended for 2 weeks. Why don't you just say that by the time third term is over, you should have registered? Why do you say 3 days and you know very well that it is not going to happen?
It's pressure.
What pressure for?
No, he's the one who's under pressure, not us.
Oh, okay.
But he knows it won't happen.
Shift registration involves money.
Of course.
Precisely. And so imagine all the students who are in school and who haven't registered. It's not a million, it's in the millions. All right? So that registration, think money, think registration, think money being paid. Just think. And then look at the pressure. Yes.
Actually, on talk of millions, the development is a relief, according to this paper, to hundreds of thousands of learners who were left without health cover after the government ended the, of course, 4.5 billion shilling school insurance scheme called EduAfya. And they're saying more than 3.4 million learners were registered in that health program. I'm just saying
which
it
died.
is true. Yes.
It died. Yeah.
But in millions. We're talking about millions of learners.
That one the government was providing, remember?
Then, yes.
Yes. And how it worked, well, that is subject to debate. This one is clearer. Clearer in the sense that we understand that SHIF is going to do what NHIF used to do. That one we've understood. But what is going to be complicated here is if you want if you want parents to register their students. So the question I ask is, okay, register under their name or register them independently? What does the article say?
Dependents to parents.
They should be dependents.
Yes.
So they will come, and if you are parents, they will come under your cover.
As should.
Yeah.
Now, let me go back to my earlier statement when I said
it's been ongoing.
And it involves money.
Oh, yes.
So any parent who has a child who is school going is now required to ensure that they register for SHIF. This is what I am hearing.
Yes, that is it. But now you see, Belio Kipsang, Dr. Kipsang was very clear in his statement where he said all school-going children are therefore required to register as dependents of their parents before school opening dates for the third term of 2024.
26.
It is not as though he is the PS in the Department of Basic Education. It's not as if he didn't know that schools were opening on the 26th, 27th of August. I said that there are children who closed in July and they're going to school on Monday and they've not finished their homework. Is it registration that they're going to do come Monday? For goodness sake.
They have not finished their homework?
Yes, now.
Let me add what I was saying earlier on to this story. Do you think that every adult in this country has registered for SHIF?
Even the adults have not, and then you want the dependents to register.
Just pause.
Okay, no. The answer.
Yes, now. How do you get parents to register?
Okay, you said it involves money?
Yes, if you say children have to be registered, it means you, the parent, you have to register.
You must have been registered.
What if I don't have it?
you will go and get
You
it.
go and get
From
it.
where?
See, wherever it is, people
Where
get
their
it from.
registry.
I cannot call a friend right now. They say they're in the same hot soup. They are broke.
Well, that is a different story. But if you are a parent and you have a child or you have children, and this is mandatory for children, you are going to register.
Okay, so should we just tell
In 3
Dr.
days,
Gibson?
parents,
Should somebody tell him? Should we tell him? Let's be the ones to tell him.
It
It is not going to happen by Monday.
We tell him.
We told him.
We've
It's not going
told
to happen
him.
by Monday. It's not going to happen by Monday. Please tell us another story, my
Anyway,
sister.
let's take a look at this. There was this very interesting story. The edible oils. I don't know. I felt like it was a good one. In the city, your paper say the 3 farms. Huh?
Go to your paper.
There are 3 firms, yes.
Not
my
your paper. The one. No,
my
it's not your paper.
The paper
Not the
that
one you read.
The one I read from. Yes, my paper. Said 3 firms, yes.
Now, this one has focused, I think, on one farm that bagged 1.1 billion shillings, and more of that is on page 4 and 5. It's very interesting because when there's a media house that gave some information last year on edible oil saga. Remember what happened then with the then CS, and media was called the heart of hyperbole and exaggeration and all sorts of things. I'm intrigued to see such developments this year. Sometimes I question then, when do you take the media seriously? Only when they clap hands for you? Because look, this is exactly what they said. There's a problem with the edible oils. Now, the state agency contracted some farms to import edible oil as a way of reducing prices. Cheap is expensive. But the process and its success have been called into question by the auditor. All right. Now, the farm secured the lucrative deal, like I said, through an email notification and was never required to provide proof of certification to supply goods fit for human consumption, although it was the first time it was making such delivery. Let's look at more interesting updates. Appearing before the Senate Committee on Trade and Industrialization, Chama Holdings Limited Director Ruth Kinyanjui shocked the committee when she revealed that she was approached by an officer from the Kenya National Trade Corporation, KNTC, to supply edible oils, despite having never supplied such a commodity before. So,
I don't think
if you've
that's a
never
problem.
supplied it before,
No, you don't
that's
have-
not the problem.
No, it's not a problem, really.
So,
It's not a problem. I may never have owned a car. It doesn't mean I can't sell cars.
yeah.
Abby?
How is that even something?
Well, I don't
There's
know.
always a first time.
No. When you come to public procurement, especially if it's supposedly an open tender, whether it's closed or open, one of the requirements for you to be able to even bid is that there must be evidence that this is something you've done
before.
So,
some evidence of expertise in the field that needs to be shown. So maybe she is an expert at importing, but not necessarily importing edible oils. I don't know the details, but I'm simply saying,
yes.
anything that involves government, there's a list. There's a list of things that you must have under your belt before you even qualify to be considered.
This is true.
Well, Ms. Kinyanjui is the sole director of the company, and she disclosed that although her farm, which has been in existence since 2008, is among the KNTC's pre-qualified suppliers. I mean, so she had been in that category. She said that they were contracted. Of course, she keeps saying that. The director said she has been in business for over 10 years. Yeah,
I also don't think
supplying
there's a-
different commodities.
I also don't have a problem with somebody who was contacted over email, because that's how people get contacted.
Okay.
Yes.
But any verification, really? Certificates?
You see, the thing is, if you're a pre-qualified supplier, that is already taken care of. Because it is assumed that for you to be pre-qualified, you had met the requirements, and that is why you are a pre-qualified supplier. Yes. The problem with this story, like many such stories, is that anytime you hear of government tenders, there are things which are shrouded in mystery. KEMSA began like this, where an individual was passing by KEMSA, according to what we're told, and they were called in and they're given a contract.
Since you were just, in the area.
Eric and I really tried to pass by KEMSA.
No, so you could be called as well?
Nobody called us. We tried. We tried. Okay?
They left
Look
you
like
like suspects.
We passed KEMSA.
Left
Today
here
you pass,
KEMSA.
tomorrow I'll pass by. Nothing. We know where KEMSA is. Now this one, edible oil, even me, I'm going to register. Because email I already have. So who knows?
Okay.
I might be contacted.
Can we hear the legal voices, especially the activist Okiya Mutata, who has always been on this? And the Busia Senator Okiya Mutata pressed the director to reveal to the committee the identity of the KNTC officer who approached her in the mode of approach, not just being called through the window. But we're also seeing that the nominated Senator Esther Okenyuri, because this is what they're probing, said Ms. Kinyanjui asked her to explain why the commodities they supplied had the same packaging as another supplier. I mean, now that's where this shenanigans are coming in. The supply had the same packaging as another. I don't know. She also wanted to know why, apart from the Chama Holdings having uniform packaging and sourcing with that particular holdings, why the two firms were also domiciled in the same building. I mean, anyway, it's part of a probe. It's many things. We're looking at how amount used, amount lost, and now the Senate committee wants the NTC board to appear before it to shed light on the use of special procurement procedures, why they do not have a substantive managing director, as well as provide a complete list of contracted suppliers. I think this is something
the
that's
managing
going to be
director is in
ongoing.
court.
Yes.
There is another high-ranking official over these same matters that we're discussing here. So if for them to be in court, it means there was something that someone felt wasn't quite okay. And so there was need to respond to these things in a court of law. Okay?
Yep.
The KNTC thing and the orders around it, there's a lot that was best responded to by questions, and these questions have remained unanswered. So even as you're looking at this, these are now more questions being raised, and so we're still waiting for
the answers.
Yes.
Okay. Since you had a story.
I always have a story. Let me just tell it to you so that you know. Kenya will be steady. Will have steady power supply despite dry season.
What?
Kenya will have steady power supply despite dry season. This according to the KenGen Managing Director Peter Njenga. Okay, all 7 Forks dams are injecting clear energy into national grid. Let me just read the story so that you understand what I'm talking about. Kenyans will continue benefiting from stable and cheaper hydroelectric power despite dry season. KenGen Managing Director Peter Njenga has said. He said, the subsidizing heavy rains will not affect supply of affordable and reliable hydroelectric power. The country's proactive water management program at the 7 Forks Dam in Embu and Machakos counties will maintain water levels. KenGen water management strategy has allowed the company to maintain optimal dam levels. The strategy ensures hydroelectric power generation continues uninterrupted regardless of weather conditions. That's what he said. So come sunshine or rain, we will have what?
Water.
Consistent power.
Yes. Now this, I will wait to see.
Me too.
I'll wait to see. Okay.
Very curious how that works, but
Jailbreak. The mystery night vehicle. Let me tell you what happened. The Gigiri jailbreak. A senior police officer and his junior are the prime suspects in investigations into the escape of 13 suspects from Gigiri police station. Are you surprised? One duty officer who had the keys to the police cells had told investigators that he was what? Asleep.
Oh, wow.
In one of the offices for most of the night.
Most of the night?
Yes.
Thank you.
But he recalls he stirred awake at some point and heard a vehicle outside the station. In his statement, he insists he still had the keys by the time his colleague at the reporting desk came to check on him around 3 a.m. The same time that he heard the vehicle. Are you understanding? He's asleep.
But he heard the vehicle.
Then he stirred. Then somebody came to check on him, and then he heard the vehicle.
And he still had the keys.
Keys inside.
But the vehicle is here.
Don't worry now. It's just a passing car.
Okay, let's just read.
Now, the same time that he heard the vehicle, and his colleague informed him that his boss had come around, but everything was in order. Do you see? Now, detectives are investigating whether the keys were taken from him as he slept, or that whether he had oh God, or whether they had duplicate keys to the cells, which they used to free the suspects. We don't know who they are because remember he was what? Sleeping.
Asleep.
Now, these include, of course, 12 Eritreans believed to have bought their freedom from somebody and one gentleman who is now at large. Collins Jumaisi Halusha who had been arrested following the discovery of the mutilated bodies at the quarry dumping site, also escaped from the cells in circumstances that were still unclear. They had spent over a month in the cells. Now, details of the events leading to the escape are contained in a preliminary report handed over to the police chiefs at Jogo House and copied to Vigilante House, the police headquarters. On the day of the escape, there were 17 prisoners in the cells. Okay? These 12 Eritreans were there. Jumaisi and another 4 suspects had been arrested for being drunk and disorderly, so those ones, they were all just packed into the same place. On that day, 2 police officers had been stationed at the report office. Another 2 were deployed to guard the station. A senior police officer from Spring Valley Police Station was deployed to supervise the night activities. I don't know if it is the same guy who fell asleep, but that's okay. At the station, and this was under the Westland Sub-County Police Command. The police stations that this senior officer was supposed to supervise include Runda, Gigiri, Spring Valley, and Parklands. Now, this officer, also known as Duty Office, is mandated to visit all stations and check on night operations. By midnight, the senior officer is supposed to go around the stations and conduct a routine check on all suspects in the cells. He's not supposed to be doing what? Sleeping. On that night, the duty officer arrived at Gigiri shortly after midnight and demanded to know from the officer at the report office the number of suspects in the cells. The report states that at the time, only one of the 2 policemen were on duty at the report office. So the question is, where was the other one? The senior officer did not go into the cells and only inquired from the officer at the report office on the number of people in the cells before leaving. So he just came and said, Mukonangapi, 17, Sawa, out. He was supposed to do what? Go in and check. In this instant, he didn't. So then around 3 a.m., the Nairobi Area Control Room called the Gigiri station boss on the phone. This is a time when the police conduct a routine check over the activities in the stations. At that time, referred to as a morning call-up, the controller at police headquarters calls all station commanders and it requires if there are any major incidents in the areas. Up until that time, there was no major incident. It was not until 5:30 a.m. when the canteen staff arrived in the cells that it was established that, Igwa Goma, there are only 4 people here. And at 3 o'clock, we had told people that there are 17. Between 3 a.m. and 5:30, what happened? And where did these people go? They said it can never be. The people who are responsible for this, the senior officer who was supposed to have checked, and the guy who was what? Sleeping. So they are the ones now who are the main suspects, and the questions are being asked of them. Mulipeleka watu wapi? How much did they pay for their... Because they're saying that these people have bought their release.
Yes.
Where are they and how did they get away? The crime scene is a crime scene.
The last time this happened, there were 2 individuals who were in a place called Philippi, and they were imprisoned because they were causing a public nuisance. And Gafla bin Vu, as Ndu would say, something happened. And the doors of the jail
miraculously opened.
Yes. The 2 individuals are called Peter and Silas.
Yes.
They prayed at midnight and then there was thunder and lightning. You were thinking Philippi is here in Kawangware.
No, you have to sing that song. That song, Ida waliomba milango ikafunguka.
Modern day miracle here.
I'm telling you, it's
because
a miracle.
Keys in the pocket. And
Sleeping?
Yet, yes, and yet the doors are open.
I'm still on the sleeping. I will not let it go.
If people don't understand, they need to look at the book of Acts, chapter 16, verse 25 to 31.
For you to understand.
These are the end times.
This is exactly what has happened.
These things have happened before.
These are other stories that made the headlines this morning. My goodness, guys. Conversations continue at 7 a.m. This is where we are, and this is what we do.
This is Kenya.
I'm telling you, it's a very scary something. But anyway, we continue, and we continue with those conversations. Good morning, everybody. 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Parents of primary, public and secondary public school students continue to find themselves in a very difficult situation, even as teachers from NAT and Kupet have officially announced that their strike will kick off on Monday, despite the Teacher Service Commission giving them about 13 billion shillings to implement the salary increase proposals. The teachers have insisted that TSE should simply implement all the demands in the 2021-2025 CBA.
Na kwa hivyo walianza masomo kwa kuchelewa. Kwa hivyo serikali ingefanya bidii hiyo mgomo wasisitize, at least watoto wafanye mtihani kwanza ndio ama watayarishwe, kwa sababu hao watoto kwa ukweli wa kidato cha 6 ni watoto umri wao ni kidogo na wanahitaji walimu sana kwa kujitayarisha.
Teachers in various counties have already announced and even warned parents against sending their children to school, saying that no academic activities will continue.
It is expected that the government and the TSC was to respect the second and the last phase of the CBA 2021-2025. These members of the fourth state did not happen in July 2024.
The teachers of this country are tired being lied to. And I want to tell the teachers, don't fear anything.
Mwalimu yoyote wa Nakuru ama Kenya, usitembe kwa style ambayo inajaribu kuonyesha ni kama unapanga ama una nia ya kukaribia shule. Hata usivae nguo rasmi. On Monday kila mtu tracksuit, jeans ama t-shirt.
Among the teachers' demands are the full implementation of the 2021-2025 CBA, promotion of 130,000 stagnated tutors, the allocation of 15 billion for medical cover and the release of money for July 2024. They also want teachers' employer to remit all loans and NSSF deductions to the statutory body, saying the Commission has since June 2024 deducted the monies but failed to hand over to third-party agents, including banks. Treasury CS John Mbadi has assured Kenyans that the Finance Bill 2024 will not be brought back. Mbadi, however, urged Kenyans to be ready for the new legislation as it's part of governance.
We are not bringing back Finance Bill 2024. That should go out very clearly. It's dead. It's buried. It is withdrawn. But I would tell you that there are so many provisions in that bill that really were not contentious. Some of them very progressive. For example, some, I would ask, why would one reject amendment to excise duty to increase excise duty on imported sugar from 5 shillings to 7.5 shillings per kilogram to protect our sugar industry? Why would one reject that? Just because it was in the Finance Bill of 2024? We are promoting our local industry. And one of the reasons why our sugar industries are dying is because we have not protected that industry sufficiently enough.
Regarding the debt issue, Mbadi said that they are consulting with international financial organizations such as IMF on how to pay them, saying that the government has prioritized how to increase the tax rate using alternative methods rather than taxing Kenyans further.
IMF has also realized that Kenyans have a right. We are in a society which is democratic. You can't just come up with policies that Kenyans don't agree to. But I said and I mentioned that we are reforming KRA to collect more money, and I also mentioned that we already have a Finance Act of 2022. Even if 2023 falls, still continue to collect revenue. And again, we need to enhance revenue collection without really changing the tax rate. And I believe it and I mean it. I'm not a con man. I didn't come to the Treasury to continue with business as usual. I'm very clear, even to the appointing authority. I've told him very clearly, my president, you must understand that I've come here to do things differently, and is in agreement with me.
And breaking news is that a grisly road accident has been reported at Gitaru Junction from Wangige heading Kikuyu. Several people are feared dead. More details will be loading in the next bulletin. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubag.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and traffic is actually not doing that thing today. So I think we'll be able to get through Friday morning without too much of a headache. Coming off the Thika Superhighway, not much. Just at that Pangani tunnel is where we're starting to see traffic now. All late in the game, but hey, it's not bad because it means that there will not be too much of it, as most folks have made their way out already, one would assume. Getting off on Landis Road, then through towards Kamkunji at the roundabout, a little bit of traffic then going towards Wakulima, and that's busy as you head on to then Haile Selassie. The southern bypass looks good, in and outbound, nothing popping here. Taking a look also coming off of the eastern bypass, some traffic right around Outer Ring at that junction, then going towards North Airport Road. That will continue for some time, and we're going to keep an eye on all of this as we get into the morning, and we're going to need your help, folks. Talk to us about what's going on, where it's going on. I know Wangigi had some issues yesterday. Shout out to let us know what that looks like. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 after 7, right on the money this morning. Good morning and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. If you're just tuning in, we're into the second hour of The Situation Room. All right, as we're getting into this hour, through the morning, thank you all for joining us. The live streams are up where you're tuned in from, on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, and on TikTok. Getting into the morning, and our audiences on KTN. Thank you for being here this morning. And we're getting into one conversation that has, I think, everybody's knickers in a twist. But before we get that, let's do some business, shall we? CT, are you well?
Yes.
You think?
I know.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because I go for health checkups.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Okay. So
I don't assume I am well. I actually get checked.
Okay, tell us.
Yes. Now, the Aga Khan University Hospital are of a similar mind, and they're saying it is absolutely mandatory that you get to know the status of your health. Now, this isn't for people who are grown up, people who... Anyone who is alive, male or female, you need to get a health check so that you know exactly where you're at with reference to your health. And this you can do once a year. Now, they're saying for the sum of 9,950, if you go to any Aga Khan University Hospital outlet throughout the country, you will be able to get this service. All you need to do is have the amount I have mentioned, 9,950, go to any of the Aga Khan University Hospital outlets and you'll be able to get this. Now, if you're a man over 40, I'm specifically referring to men, you need to have this twice a year. It's important. Because when you get to over 40, all manner of ailments that had hitherto been unknown to you come knocking. Okay. And before they knock and open the door by force, please get to understand what it is that you have, and then get professional help and deal with the problem before it overwhelms you.
Okay, well, how about that good sound warning? Get it done, and not a warning for you to be scared. Get it done, because when you know, and then you're able to decide thereafter. Okay, there is the Cradle World study fair that's taking place on the 31st of August. It's the Cradle Study Abroad World Fair on the 31st of August at the Gallant Mall from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on that Saturday, where you can find out a host of different things if you want to pursue your university education abroad. Many universities will be there from different countries. You can get your visa applications in, you can get your admission in on the spot, you can apply for scholarships, you can then even apply for your accommodation. But then you ask, who's Cradle? Well, actually, Cradle is Africa's largest higher education platform, and it's helping students search, it's helping students get matched and enrolled to top universities around the world. So this is what they do. This is the business that they're involved in. So they know the tricks of the trade. The market is filled with people who are trying to actually swindle you. But Cradle is affiliated, it is certified to make sure that they're matching you to the right university of your choice and giving you all the details that you need. There's a problem of people trying to swindle people in the market, isn't it? So what does Cradle do to make sure that this problem is solved? It's using technology to disrupt the study abroad industry that is currently ridden by biases and it's often misguided by financial incentives rather than student outcomes. So Cradle is focused on student outcomes to make sure that you're matched to the right university with the right opportunities and getting you into the right structure that you need to complete your your overseas education. So get on down to the fair. It's happening on the 31st of August. You need to register www.cradle.com. And then you can attend the fair. Otherwise, you call on 0799 000 444. Get all the information that you need, get your match right, and get into your future education. Sawa. Okay, CT, getting into this hour, remind us of today's proverb.
I will remind you of today's proverb. This is our final proverb from the Republic of Chad. It is also our final proverb for this particular season for countries in Africa that are landlocked. He who wants to be famous will have many sleepless nights.
That's not to say that if you don't want to be famous that you won't have sleepless nights.
Well, there are many reasons why we will have sleepless nights. We're not getting into those.
Okay.
Those ones you know. This has happened and then the other has also happened. Those ones we understand. Okay, and this hasn't happened. We understand all that. However, we are focusing on one variable. It's called fame.
Yeah.
Those who pursue it in earnest will in earnest not sleep well.
I can't even argue with that, man.
Okay.
I think that would be my opinion. You gotta sweat a little bit if that's what you're achieving. It doesn't really matter how long the fame lasts either.
Now, if you're pursuing it, it will consume you.
It will consume you.
Yes, I mean, it consumes you.
It doesn't matter your age.
Age doesn't matter. In fact, age is quite irrelevant. Yes. But you start on that path and you not only will be sleepless, you'll be restless.
But just work on your mindset. A lot of internal work, a lot of internal energy, I think. Work on your spirit.
Yes, exactly.
That's where the strength is.
Well,
if you think I'm joking and you like watching movies, search. Use the word sleepless and look at how many movies come up.
I can already think of a few. But okay. Maybe we'll do for some weekend viewing.
Why movies?
Why not?
Why not?
Pictorial evidence.
Okay.
All right. Looking at conversation this hour. You know what? There's a lot in the last 2 weeks. Maybe even some would say 2 years, 20 years. Yeah. There's been a lot going on with the education sector. We're not even talking about curriculum today, but we're looking at the mechanics that then affect how proper education will be carried out in Kenya or in any country, by the way, who struggles with setting of curriculum, who struggles with making sure that because it is a state function, education is a state function. Because it's a state function and it's one that you will then provide for citizens, then you need to make sure that it's running properly. Unfortunately, at the moment, there are one too many things that are not happening in the manner in which they ought to be. And we see the rumblings and we see the evidence, and it has broken through the surface right now. It had done that from a while ago. And when we look at the last 5 years with just the issue of capitation, which we can talk about for 365 days, just the issue of capitation has been a thorn in the flesh of many schools. Public schools by dint means that there is a percentage of what schools will charge for tuition and other runnings that will come from the state. Like the state will pay for that. And that is then what makes it possible for education across different functions to flow. This unfortunately has not been happening in the manner in which it ought to for the longest time. And now we have so many other things that come into play. Without teachers, an education is not possible, at whatever level you want to say. Now, what are the things that we've seen over the last 2 weeks? Number one, we've seen that teachers threatened to go on strike because JSS teachers did not get what they needed. And if you look at what happened with the introduction of CBC, that meant that JSS came in after grade 6 now, and that 7, 8, and 9 was seen to be lower secondary, and that 10, 11, and 12 now would be senior secondary. We said, or rather, the ministry said after even before the Presidential Working Party on Education reforms went and did their work around the country, that it was clear that what would happen was that junior secondary, because of the mechanics, would be domiciled in primary schools. And that was a whole, hullabaloo about whether that needed to happen or not. We also knew that there needed to be certain training that needed to happen for junior secondary school teachers, because essentially these are high school teachers. And of course, there was the whole fight between high school teachers or secondary school teachers, primary school teachers, who should do what, who should do it where. But if you ask me, those are teething problems that can eventually be sorted out. The fuel that is needed to push this caboose is money.
So, yeah.
It is money.
Yeah.
And if you have budgeted 600 and so odd billion shillings every year for education, my question continues to remain, why don't we see this money come out in a proper manner to make sure that the system runs the way in which it ought to? These are the issues that we see today. Collective bargaining agreements 2021-2025, whereby teachers have said, look, there's certain things that we put on the table which we are supposed to have done because we had an agreement. We will not go to school.
We're in 2024.
We're in 2024. We've got a year left in the agreement to go, and certain things have still not been put in place. Why is it so difficult to have the functions of the education system run smoothly? Why is it so difficult? And that's the question this morning. Is it just a money problem, or is it a function problem? And if it's a function problem, there are people behind it. Why is it so difficult to have the education system functioning and functioning properly? Does it matter who is there? Many would say that it matters who's at the helm. Or are we just not able to get our ducks in a row? Why is it so difficult?
I'm looking at what you've said, and it is true. This has been here for years. It's 2024 now, and teachers are taking advantage of that anyway. The fact that third term is very, very critical for, schools, revision, all these preparations, and teachers are also involved in invigilations and examinations. So they are not just puppets or some sort of stakeholders in the education sector. They're at the heart of it. And where did the problem start? And I just want to add to what you're saying, a bit of research here back in the years. And there was this interview done with the former Kenya Schools Head Association chairperson, Indimuli Kahi, and to be more specific, in November 2nd, 2023. And being in his position, this is what he told the media, that underfunding of, I'm now going to be specific, secondary schools began all the way in 2019, maybe even earlier. But looking at 2019, and he said that the problem started when funding stopped being given out per term, which came as 50, 30, 20% to funding schools quarterly according to the financial year, that financial year. Indimuli said in 2019, when the government still dished out funding per term, schools received about 95% of their total budget. And in that year, that is 2019, each learner had a funding deficit of 1,127 shillings. Now, the problem has always been, even if you sit with members of parliament in the education committee, it's always a matter of the ministry will say this has been released, the disbursement will not be fully done in as far as capitation is concerned. But for something that has started years ago and building deficit year in, year out, we're lagging behind every financial year with that particular area of capitation. And if it is about budget, we have budget readings, we have financial years every single time. Yet, when it comes to now the actual financing, there's always going to be a deficit per learner.
Why?
When do we bridge this gap?
Why? This is my question.
Would I say it's the personnel? Would I say is it misappropriation of those resources? Because why? Why? And you wouldn't say it's the ministry. the CS Treasury former, came out to say, this is where the country is at, generally. So we are trying to cut our clothes according to our size. So every other department, including education, has to suffer but a little bit.
You know, the thing about the Ministry of Education, unlike every ministry that we have in this country, it represents a sector of our society that is unique. But the uniqueness of education surpasses all of them because it deals very directly with the future of this country, because it is the one ministry that manages the human resource. And it is the one ministry that is responsible for ensuring that the future of this country vis-a-vis the human resource is well catered for. When you're talking about how you want your population of children to be educated, you are talking about your future as a country. Mm-hmm. And if that future is supposed to be rosy, with all these plans, whether it's Vision 2030, Vision 5050, whatever vision it is anchored on the human resource. Because it's that human resource that will make the thinking and the planning possible for you to have whatever it is you're planning for and whatever it is that will work to make this country better. Now, if you want to measure the talk vis-a-vis the seriousness with which we take education, you only need to look at how it is we implement all the plans and the promises that have been made regarding the education sector. And in this country, it's dismal. At some levels, it is pathetic. Because you cannot say, that we allocate the most amount of money in this country, a third of our budget goes to education. And yet, when you look at the education sector, you want to ask yourself, do you see a third of our budget in the education sector? Do you see evidence of it having been spent? So where does it go to? Because we're told it's budgeted for, and I believe it is budgeted for. Mm-hmm. There are students, and then there are those who are supposed to ensure that these students acquire the knowledge they're supposed to. They're called teachers.
Right.
Okay? Why is it that every single term, almost without fail, there is a threat by the teachers to go on strike? Why? Why is it? What? There are no students for them to teach?
There are plenty of students.
Precisely. And
excited to learn.
Yes. And have you ever heard of members of parliament going on strike?
On strike? But I've seen some action in parliament when they were going on recess, I think last year, December, and they stormed out. And as far as the bursaries were concerned, still it's around bursaries.
That's throwing a tantrum. That's not going on strike.
No, that's what I said. It wasn't really going on strike, just a bit of action.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the police going on strike?
Ooh.
Have you ever heard of the military going on strike?
Oh.
Because they're taken care of.
The police
are the police taken care of?
No, they are not. And that's why I mentioned them, because the police and the teachers, given the enormity of what it is in terms of responsibility that they have, they are the one group of individuals who are least regarded. And immediately after them come doctors and healthcare workers. Now, you're talking about three pillars of this society that is absolutely mandatory and absolutely focused and important for the well-being of this country.
Okay. Why do you think a third of the budget goes towards education? Is it because that the numbers of students need to be educated are high, and so you need quite a lot of money to take care of that?
That's a theory.
Or is it because there's the realization that you must have a foundation upon which a nation is built, and they must learn and understand certain principles to then be able to use them later on in life, and that education then becomes the founding pillar upon which a people for whom a government is supposed to vanguard its safety, they realize that we actually need to make sure that a good chunk of the resources goes towards making sure that children from that early age, when do they start going to school? 3 years old until 24, 25, depending on what you're specializing in, actually then need to be educated, because we know that we need proper functioning individuals over whom governance works. So is it because we need a lot of money because there are many people, or we've realized that the pillars need to be protected? Why do you think such a large amount of that education, of that budget then is spent on education? Because it's across board, eh? It's not just primary, secondary school. We go to tertiary and then we go to well-advanced education. All the way.
Yeah.
Why is a major chunk of that money spent on education? I would want to go with the latter, that there's the realization that it is very important for you to educate people at whatever level, whether they want to specialize, whether you want to do basic education, whether you want to go to secondary school, then after that tertiary, and then, advanced studies. That there's the realization of the critical role that education plays in a nation. And so you say, you know what? We need to make sure that a major chunk of the resources goes there so that we don't have to spend it later, number one, and that you will be sure that you have functioning individuals that essentially make up larger units in society. So if there's that realization, why would you not want to then ensure that this idea which you've come up with in the very beginning lives out? Why would you intentionally, in my opinion, why would you intentionally jeopardize a process that is meant for good for the nation? Why would you do that? Every time you don't send out capitation on time, you jeopardize it. Every time you say we are not going to pay teachers, you jeopardize it. Every time you have a CBA in place that you choose. Yeah. You're not bound. You choose not to adhere to, you jeopardize it. Every time you say we are just going to release 25% of capitation that was due in December last year or in September last year, you jeopardize the idea. Why would you want to intentionally do that if you are serious about making sure that one of the fundamental pillars of society is then taken care of? So to me, it is not an idea problem, but it is a people problem, and it's a mindset problem that needs to be shifted. Because you cannot tell me that the people who sit, for example, in the Ministry of Education, every single cycle get it wrong. From teachers to students to capitation. Mind you, do you remember in 2019, before COVID, there was a school, I keep using that as an example. There was a school that collapsed where children died in satellite. Precious talent. And the 31st of October is when we were supposed to have seen a report. And it was required that we know all the schools in the country, not Nairobi, in the country that needed attention. Till today, as we sit here today, maybe the report was done, it was not made public in terms of what was going on with school infrastructure in the country. Some of the things that we talk about and I keep insisting, why is it important? Because you're dealing with a pillar issue. It is a pillar issue. It is a pillar issue. And many would say, if you don't get it right in the beginning, why are we asking questions about what's happening in the middle or going towards the end? Go back to the roots and find out what the problem is. If you have a problem with your education sector, guess what? You will have a problem with your health sector. You will have a problem with your infrastructure sector. Absolutely. You will have a problem everywhere else because at the very foundation, you had a problem. When do we see it? How do we see it? What must be done?
All right. When do we say it? What must be done? As you were speaking, I just think it's important to say you're not just speaking your opinion per se. It is very important that we also look at some of these things that Kenya has ratified, the most international treaties that protect the right to education. It's good on paper. We look serious on paper. And when we go to global forums, we do look serious as well. And all these treaties, they form part of the country's laws, including the Constitution of Kenya. And the Article 53 then states that every child has a right, ladies and gentlemen, to free and compulsory basic education. And Article 55 says the state shall take measures, including affirmative action programs, to ensure that the youth, not just babies and children, access relevant education and training. Minorities and marginalized groups under Article 56 have the right to be provided with special opportunities in the field of education. When you do not have infrastructure, motivated teachers who have to be, have to threaten and down want tools for you to actually empower this sector, you are actually violating human rights, some enshrined in our own constitution. Why would we play around with things that we should be upholding? And I think the judiciary should also sometimes come in and, bring up these issues. Not just when we have extrajudicial killings that we have to have the courts exercise their powers. I feel like we've got to a point where, as a parent or as a nation, we now need to be a little more serious about education. It is a right. We're not really begging the nation or the president or the government to put the house in order for the sake of these children to access quality.
I don't think
education.
I don't think we should get by with just the mayor. Is what I've seen said at least mentality. Well, at least every January you put students in school, and at least
is it a favor?
At least every November, something comes out of the oven.
We want at most.
Something comes out of the oven, and somebody's going to set an example. Like we know, for example, KEPSEA will be sat this year. KCSE will be sat this year. By the end of December, it will be done and dusted, and then in January we get results, and then people go to university or not. It'll happen. So what are we talking about? We're going to struggle through, tumble down the mountain. We'll get there at the end of the day, and that's the problem. I think.
Yeah.
That if you're just making, you're just getting by, and I don't think that nations should just get by. I think there must be deliberate effort. I think there must be continuous deliberate effort to make this thing done and done right. We're going to look at some of the numbers. We're going to take a break and come back and look at some of the numbers, and maybe we'll hear from you that what really needs to be done to overhaul the mechanics to ensure that quality education is delivered in this country and delivered in the manner in which it is acceptable across the board for the stakeholders, which are the parents and their children, which are the teachers who deliver this education, which is the overall, governing body, which is the Ministry of Education, and then the government on a whole. You're using a lot of money, but is the money that you're using going where it's supposed to go?
And I feel like I'm getting emotional now because
I think you should.
The regional inequalities, Wajir, Turkana, come on. It's not always about Nairobi schools and schools in the cities. How about that child who is sitting on a stone? Because let me tell you, not every school we're speaking about has infrastructure as we are speaking.
You said don't have. I said there are some schools.
They don't even have.
There's a picture we have here, and we're going to maybe bring it up. There's a picture we have here that Al Kags brought here about a school in Kilifi County in 2024. Not 1953. No, 2024, and that's what we're dealing with today. It's 28 minutes to 8 o'clock. We're going to take a break, come back, and continue with this conversation.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 14. We'll see highs of 22, and we're looking into a cloudy Nakuru at 20, going to highs of 22 and lows of 13. It's mostly cloudy at 13 in Nyeri with highs of 19, and 13 and clear in Eldoret with highs of 21. It is 23 and partly cloudy in Mombasa with highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 29 in a partly cloudy Malindi at 24. It's 19 and cloudy in Kisumu with highs of 28, while Kakamega at 17 is cloudy. We'll see highs of 27. Kampala is clear at 18 with highs of 27, while Dar es Salaam at 23 is cloudy with highs of 30. Looking into a cloudy. Johannesburg at 9 degrees, we'll see highs of 19, while into Mogadishu 25 cloudy through highs of 28. It's 13 and sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 19, and Lagos is cloudy at 25 with highs of 27, while Kinshasa at 22 is cloudy going to highs of 29 and lows of 20.
Spice up your life.
Doesn't look like we're going to have a traffic problem this morning, but we're getting into what would be traffic hour right around this time into the city. Not much happening coming off of Thika Superhighway. I think you'll be okay as you get through the Pangani Tunnel. It's going to be a little bit of a wait, but it'll pan out at some point. All right, also looking at the junction coming off of Langata Road and then touching on Nyayo Stadium and out towards Uhuru Highway, and that is clear as well. The most traffic we're probably seeing at this hour is Haile Selassie coming off Wakulima getting into the city. Keeping an eye on things this morning. We are in traffic hour. Let us know what's going on. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, continuing with this conversation, the number of students who would want to be in school but need to have monies paid or need to look for bursary. And one of the questions that has been advocated for is, or one of the issues, not a question, one of the issues being advocated for is, take all of this money that would come from NGAF, CDF, what is the office called? Constituency Development, NGCDF. Mm-hmm. There's a president's bursary. There is another national whatever. There is all this money that's sitting in different places that's supposed to be then for education bursaries. And then we see governors and members of parliament lining up at the beginning of every term and handing out checks, which in some cases equal to a grand total of 3,000 shillings, because they just don't have enough. Then there's a president's fund. Then there's, I don't know which other one. They're all over the place. So there has been, and this is aside from whatever else happens, there has been a call to say that, solidify or consolidate all of this money into one fund. Let it be like a federal education fund.
Nope.
Let it be a federal education fund. Okay, wait, now let me tell you what they said. Let it be a federal education fund. And then you can now make your way to your constituency development office and they say this is the money that is then available. Instead of you having member of parliament doing politics to give out bursary, instead of you having a governor giving out bursary, instead of you saying now let somebody then go to Harambe House and see if we can get something from the president's fund or CDF. What should it look like? Because a lot of people have already called this a crime scene whereby people have taken money, again, with people, money doesn't get lost, people take it. Where people have taken money that's meant to send children to school. You say no.
No. The problem isn't the money or where it is nestled. The problem has always been our ability to seek and push for accountability and ensure that public officers and those who are in positions of authority are actually accountable to us. We have been willing to let them make decisions as they like, and the part we have played is to complain about what they are doing. The budget for education is in one basket. One. You take all these funds into one basket, the ne'er-do-wells who control this budget are the same sort of people who are going to be controlling that money. What do you think is going to happen to it? I'd rather it remains independent. Helter-skelter as it is, at least, yes, I'd rather it just remains exactly the way it is. What is necessary is for us to understand that you cannot entrust something this important into the hands of people without the element of constant and consistent accountability.
By whom?
Us.
But do we even have accountability structures?
Oh no. That is the argument that ensures the status quo. Anything that doesn't exist can be created.
Okay.
Yes.
Whom should?
If you think it is important for you to actually have this thing lined up, You can write letters. You can question. You can petition us as a parents' association. There are things you can do. I'm going back to the Gen Z. They have shown us that this thing which we think cannot be done can actually be done. And all you need to do is raise your voice. If you can't raise your voice, then suffer in silence, for heaven's sake. Don't complain. It's really that simple. It is your money. It is your tax money. It is intended to do good. If you have trusted people and they have failed and they have essentially thrown your trust to the dogs, then please sit back and ask yourself, what do I do next? Because if you don't, the situation won't remain the same. It'll get worse. It never remains the same. It just gets worse.
Create. You know, in my head, I'm just thinking, yes, fine. I understand the powers of the people, but I mean, we have the oversight authority, which is, of course, the parliament.
What are you talking about?
Oh my God! I'm just going. I know. This is what we have created. We have the Senate. Those are the things we have created. We have institutions which we hope are independent, but are not practically independent. Which one else do we have left?
Thank you.
We have the National, Assembly Sitting Committee of Matters Education, different committees for that matter. Every time you interrogate, there's always a blame game.
You've gone.
I'm looking.
What you're saying is true.
All over.
No. You've missed the fundamental. Who is the sovereign?
The people.
And then?
We can't all sit there.
No.
And people have raised their voices.
No.
Kenyans have. We are right now.
No. Now, you are a lovely colleague, but I'm going to knock you on the head. That's a defeatist attitude.
I want to hear from you today.
You see, that is how we've all been thinking. We look at Parliament and we say, but Parliament has done nothing. Then what do?
We hold them to account.
But we talked, but we haven't. Until the Gen Zs came about and said, we are going to be telling people about you. Have you asked yourself why it is all these policemen cover their faces to the point of their eyes? Why? Have you asked yourself why? If you're doing something which you know is on the up and up, why do you cover your face? Do you think these people don't have families and relatives and friends? They do.
Okay.
Who wants to be known as an abductor? Who wants to be known as somebody who possibly disappeared someone? Who wants to be known as the person who's responsible or part of the group that's responsible for killing people? When people hide their faces, it means they know what they're doing is not right.
City, we asked to recall these members of parliament if they are incompetent. We don't even have an IEBC in place.
We don't need an IEBC.
We don't need an IEBC.
Not
Why
really.
hasn't there been action if the Gen Z did speak? And they said, if they're not working, recall them.
Anki, the Gen Z didn't speak. They have continued to speak.
They're okay. They gave a hint to it.
No. These movements evolve. They come out in the open. They get pushed back. They think they retreat. They are now rearming and retooling and rethinking what do we do next.
Fair enough. Recall them. I'm still at it. Action. They come in, we act like we listened, we go back, it's another cycle. I just need action done.
You know what?
That's where I'm at.
Anki, what you're saying,
I feel like generations and generations and generations have spoken to sovereignty, is in the hands of the people.
No, they haven't. It's the constitution.
In their own different ways.
No, they haven't.
And I'm not disregarding this generation, but I'm saying we're yet to see members of parliament held to account.
Actually, we've seen it.
Where?
When you have a situation where an entire governor is being impeached, and this is not the first governor being taken, just by virtue of the fact that they've been taken to the Senate, they're being held to account. It may not look like much, but it is.
Education.
When you hear of threats of individuals within counties getting signatures from people to begin the process of ensuring that they can get the MP out. Yes, the IEBC is not going to be absent forever. The IEBC will be constituted.
We are dragging the process. We are intentionally dragging this process.
An election has to take place in this country, believe me. And the IEBC has to be constituted. It may take time, but it will.
Yes.
But in the meantime, people prepare for that eventuality so that when they are constituted, you're ready. All these things, Anki, are processes. What I'm trying to dissuade you from is thinking that nothing can be done. It's not true.
No, I wasn't really saying that, City.
No,
I wasn't saying nothing can be done. I wasn't really saying that. What I was saying is,
go ahead.
We need political goodwill. And
From whom?
That is it. That is it.
Okay, so the political goodwill from City is saying that political goodwill does not exist.
So what do we do about it?
If it did exist, I think we would have seen that.
And this discussion wouldn't be taking place.
Exactly. We wouldn't even be here. So look, if we're looking at this system, and I think this is where my mind is here, that until there is the full and complete realization that actually what is happening, and if we watch, I mean, where we started with is an education conversation right now. Until we realize the damage that is done in the future by not doing something right in the beginning, until we realize that damage, then it is going to be very, very, very difficult to hold anybody to account. Because if you are not seeing it, and I keep saying, City will call me freedom fighter, but look, until you get to the place where literally you're pushed to the wall and you say, no, this is not on. This cannot be accepted. That hundreds of billions of shillings cannot disappear year on year that is meant to education. We should have free education in this country.
That is exactly what I said.
We should have free education in Kenya.
It's not even.
There should be free education in this country. And when I say free education, I mean that parents are not being asked to cough up even a dime to make sure that children
all you do is go to school.
All you do
just go to school.
is show up in school.
That's it.
There's no reason why that should not happen. And the only way that you can get to realize that this situation is actually possible is when you look at, okay, hold on a minute. This money that was supposed to be made available, if you break it down to the shilling and you can see, actually, you know what? All the 1 million students, all the 800,000 who pass exams at the end of the year, that they actually can be catered for without anybody coughing up a single shilling. That books can be provided at school without anybody being asked to go and buy 15 million books at the beginning of every term. That actually these things can happen. Teachers can be paid and paid well. Books can be bought and kept in school and people can actually take some home and use them. That you shouldn't have to pay an extra amount for school fees. It can actually be taken care of by the state. If there's no realization that that reality is possible, you will not get incensed enough to do the thing that you're talking about, Anki. You won't. If you don't understand that the money that is meant for this road, if you don't understand that
we're talking in the third person. Us.
Because
hold on, Anki. If you don't understand that the money that is supposed to be used for this thing is being moved by somebody, and it is not making you incensed to the point where you open your mouth, but not just open your mouth, sustain that action by saying this cannot be, then we might as well sit down and swallow that at least mentality, which is why I agree with City. Until the point whereby you're not getting mad enough or emotional enough to whereby you say this cannot continue to happen. Imagine, keep quiet. You will continue with that at least. You will continue with the at least mentality. We will continue to suffer at the beginning of every term. You will have to continue to suffer at the beginning of every term where parents will have to line up and beg the shopkeeper and say, I can't take all these. Let me take
this
half.
idea mattress.
No. And 600 billion shillings has been budgeted every year for education. And there is a fund. There are funds where children can actually go to school for free. Why do you have a fund here 100 billion, another one here 60 billion, another one 30 billion,
and we still have a crisis
and then you have a crisis in education, and then you're telling us there's free education? For goodness sake, what are we
the
drinking?
buck stop? With the people?
It stops with everybody.
With everybody.
Yes, it does.
You know, I appreciate all these things we're saying, and it's not even the first time this is on the table. My question is, and now let's get to the solutions. This was my ideal question. All right. Power with the people, fine. But we also know that there's corruption in the system. It's not like we have the worst laws, we have the best. My concern is, all right, and she said, get angry enough to act and sustain that action. And I'm with all the actions that will make sure that every child is in school. The question is, all right, I have not seen these actions, all right, actually happen. And not with the people. It's not happening, guys. We have great ideas. And I like that you're saying we need to sanitize and do what we need to do, but we all agree that it's not happening.
You say it's not happening. Page 12 of the Standard.
It's not.
Police chiefs in court over death of protester.
Education, no.
Oh, no.
I'm on education.
These things are tied up. All these things, accountability.
But how many years of
accountability?
deficits?
There's no end to it. There's no time when you don't hold people to account.
How many administrations?
Because if you don't, then what the rotware will become the norm and will accept it. Accountability has to be alive and well and kicking every day of our lives. There's no time when you let down your guard.
Yes.
You know, I picked on that story.
Yes.
People do the nonsense they do because they think they can get away with it.
They are getting away with it.
No, because they
in most cases in this country, they are getting away with it.
Let me repeat again, because they think they're getting away with it. We had people who were involved in things like Goldenberg who thought they had gotten away with it. That case went on. People died before that case was concluded. We've had other cases that are still in court. They've taken time. I read this story because you're talking about the immediate former IG of police and the person who headed the police service in Nairobi being in court over the death of a protester. Specific.
Yes.
When you read the paper and the matter has gone to court, it means someone has done something. That's what it means. Now, you may say that the courts may set them free. Believe me, that you can actually take a high-ranking official of the police force to court is something. It is not nothing.
But things are moving?
Yes, they are changing. We were having this discussion earlier on, Du and I were saying, the thing about change is that it's never momentous. And that's why it can pass you by without you realizing it has happened. It happens in dribbles and in bits. Drip, drip. When the momentous occasion occurs, all the small drippings have been occurring to bring this about.
Right.
Change that we're talking about arises from a situation where those in leadership know you're going to be held to account and you're going to be questioned. That knowledge, and when it is driven home, whether it is by parliament being occupied or by protests, whether you like it or not, a change has actually occurred. When you have a group of people who would never been associated with protests or speaking loudly, a change has occurred. That's how change occurs. We have been accustomed to a situation where all we look at is gloom and doom.
And defeat.
Daily. So we even speak with doom and gloom because we can't see a way forward. And that's what I'm saying. The change is actually upon us and we're not seeing it. It's actually right there.
It started.
It is ongoing. Not just started. It is ongoing. Yes. When you find people who are in political power talking with a slight apology and saying, I was thinking, our politicians don't speak with apology. They blast ahead and speak and let you do what you're going to. When they hesitate and they think, it means they've understood more than anybody else, because politicians derive their power from the people. It's not complicated.
That's okay. That's right.
And they cannot afford to be at odds with the people who give them that power.
My thing is that now, in order for that power, because this power that's derived from politicians, which I mean, for sure, that fever, that pepper, that ginger that you get, you actually get it off the beat of the people. And if it is not coming off the beat of the people, that is where we have the situation where we have today. That things can happen and they disappear off the radar. Because actually, I do think that when a people get incensed enough to the point whereby when it is not long from now, next week, you will see people, mothers and fathers, going to sleep at 3 a.m. outside NGCDF offices. You will find them with blankets waiting so that they will be first in line at 5:30 in the morning.
Yes.
So that they will be first in line when the office opens at 8 o'clock. Not to receive 20,000 shillings, to receive 2,000, 3,000 shillings.
Okay.
If you get 5,
you're lucky.
You're very lucky. Okay? Now, when you see a situation like that, when that will incense you to the point and you will say, come on guys, this is not on. When you will see a picture of a school in Kilifi that is held up by 4 wooden posts and there is mud at the bottom, and you ask yourself, it is the children of men that sit here to learn, and you want to compare that individual. You want to compare that individual to somebody who is sitting in a swanky office somewhere in Nairobi. It is that situation that will incense somebody enough to give off the ginger then that the politicians will live off of. If that doesn't happen, it is not going to. When you look at a mother who has gone to a shop, or a father who has gone to a shop at the beginning of the term, like they will today, tomorrow, and even on Sunday, and they cannot afford the books that they need to send their children to school, they were going to have a problem. When students show up at the school gate because they've not been able to pay a balance of 16,000 shillings, and they say there's nothing we can do, and they say there's nothing we can do for you, and they send them home. If that doesn't incense you, then this is where the problem is. And then we have funds of billions of shillings every year that people are eating.
We lose it.
If it doesn't incense you, there is no ginger upon which the politicians can get that power which they derive from the people. And this is what I am saying. That we see the same situation playing out year after year after year. And we don't go back to the foundation and pillars of the society, whereby we're saying there is a reason why a third of the budget goes to education. It is not because there are so many children in this country that need to be educated. It is because there is the realization that an education is fundamental to future living.
Exactly.
But then we're not taking it seriously, as seriously as the idea that put that thing in place in the first place.
Ideally,
we are not.
Okay, ideally, 600 billion shillings should have guaranteed a long time ago that everything we're discussing here doesn't exist.
Yes.
That no one is chased from school. Capitation is on time. There are enough books.
They're eating.
There are enough teachers. Everything.
There's enough to go around.
There's enough. That amount, believe me, it is adequate to go around if it actually goes to what it is intended for. So that these discussions we keep having about this happening, and the free education would be free. So if you wish to go to a private school, you know that's
up
your
to
choice.
you. But not because.
Yes. Yes. Now I speak as someone who went to school at a time when you went to school. It wasn't even free education then. We hadn't gotten there yet. But you went to school. And if you went home...
It was affordable. Was it?
By the times people went to school, we were sent home, but usually it was to go and call our parents. Not to go home and sit. And once the parents came, you continued your learning. You never knew what they discussed, but you continued your learning. All I'm trying to say is, education is possible. Free education is possible for every citizen of this country who needs it.
It is very possible.
And free meaning, you buy uniform, you go to school, and you study. Because the teachers and the books are there. Uniform.
The teachers.
Yes, and all these who give funds and bursaries.
And your books.
They can help you with uniform. They can help you with other things that ordinarily that money can't cover. But it's just fundamental learning taken care of.
The most painful thing is that we have very young children committing, or taking their lives out of depression, out of all these things that we're talking about. They feel left out. They are afraid. Just the other day, we have children writing in newspapers how they need support to go to school. They have dreams. They want to pursue certain degrees. And these are the people we're talking about. Why should we not take this as serious as that? We are killing dreams. We are giving mental health issues. We are, those with that particular resource access, so selfish to the point where a young person would feel so depressed thinking of what the parents should do, what I should do, to the point that they take their lives. Really. Because they just want to study and have good education. We need to move forward as a country in that regard. It is very sad. It's very sad.
It is. I think that there's too much that's going on, and that it takes away from the very fundamentals that we should be pushing for. And I think at the end of the day, when you look at citizen participation, when you look at a citizen-centric government, when you look at governance being carried out in a way that it protects the citizen, which is what it was created to do in the first place, and if it is not meeting and I think that should be the question, if it is not meeting the fundamentals, then we have no business operating there at all. And I keep saying it. If the very minimum is not being met, if you're not feeding your people, if you're not educating your children, if you're not treating your sick, if you're not providing, if you're not
shelter,
doing the minimum, you have no business being in governance. And that is the truth of the matter. But again, if politicians, if state officers are feeding off the beat of the people, then they would actually be working differently. But that beat needs to be felt, and it needs to be felt from the people. If it doesn't pain you to the point whereby you're speaking up, then it has not reached the point yet. And that's what we need to be looking forward to. The education system needs an overhaul, and that's for sure. Let's see what happens.
We have a new CS.
Well, let's see what happens in the
Ministry of
future.
Education, let's see. He just gave different directives the other day. But anyway.
But this conversation must go on. We're getting to the top of the hour. We'll come into more as we continue. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Parents have called on the Ministry of Education to intervene and ensure that teachers call off their planned strike that's set to begin on Monday next week. Parents say that the education schedule has already been interrupted severally this year, adding that the strike will mostly affect candidates.
Na kwa hivyo walianza masomo kwa kuchelewa. Kwa hivyo serikali ingefanya bidii hiyo mgomo wasisitize, at least watoto wafanye mtihani kwanza ndio ama watayarishwe, kwa sababu hao watoto kwa ukweli wa kidato cha 6 ni watoto umri wao ni kidogo na wanahitaji walimu sana kwa kujitayarisha.
In Nakuru County, teachers have warned parents against sending their children to school, saying that no academic activities will continue.
It is expected that the government and the TSC was to respect the second and the last phase of the CBA 2021-2025. These members of the first state did not happen in July 2024.
The teachers of this country are tired being lied to. And I want to tell the teachers, don't fear anything.
Mwalimu yoyote wa Nakuru ama Kenya, usitembe kwa style ambayo inajaribu kuonyesha ni kama unapanga ama una nia ya kukaribia shule. Hata usivae nguo rasmi. On Monday kila mtu tracksuit, jeans ama t-shirt.
In Kisumu County, teachers say they've completed their preparations for the activities that will be carried out during the strike period.
We are giving to parents of students in primary, of students in secondary, and of students in TTCs, like in Kisumu we have semi-TTC, is that take your children to those schools at your own risk. Take your children to those schools at your own risk, because the teachers will not be there until and unless the second phase of the collective bargain agreement that was signed last year and deposited in the industrial court, that being a legal instrument, it was supposed to be honored in full.
Among the teachers' demands are the full implementation of the 2021-2025 CBA, promotion of 130,000 stagnated tutors, the allocation of 15 billion for medical cover. They also want the teachers employed to remit all loans and NSSF deductions to the statutory body, saying the Commission has since June 2024 deducted the monies but failed to hand over to third-party agents, including banks. The controversy surrounding the 16 billion shillings edible oil deal has deepened after it emerged only 3 companies supplied the commodity. The development came after it emerged the Kenya National Trading Corporation, which contracted the farms to supply the commodity, used a special procurement method spearheaded by a committee. The revelations came to the fore during a meeting of the Senate Trade, Industrialization and Tourism with KNTC Strategy General Manager Lucy Anangwe. And finally, and locally and also in the international scene, Singapore has detected 13 cases of Mpox clade 2 infections this year. The country's health ministry said all Mpox infections in the city-state have been the less severe. Earlier on Thursday, Thailand confirmed an Mpox case reported this week with the clade 1B strain of the virus, the second confirmed case of the variant outside of Africa. Clade 1B has triggered global concern due to the ease with which it spreads through routine close contact. This event comes as here in Kenya, Public Health PS Mary Mudhoni says no case has been reported. No other case has been reported. However, they are awaiting 2 test results on the Mpox. status.
The country does not have any other confirmed case, and I want to confirm that we do not have any other confirmed case. We only have one case which was treated, and the person has already left the country. So as a country, we have specimens that have been taken to the lab, about 31, and the samples, 31 samples, and 29 of them turned negative. So we are awaiting any other information should there be a confirmation of any.
That's the News Wire. I'm Lau Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
That is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, it's not too busy a Friday morning. Traffic is not doing the thing as it normally would. And I think you'll be able to get where you're going today without an issue. Getting into the city from the southern bypass would be the scenic route today. You know, if you have a few minutes and you want to see giraffe and stuff like that in Nairobi, you might want to think about that because there's really not much happening. On the Thika Superhighway, we're seeing just a smidgen of that as you get through from Survey to the city. And then on Kiambu Road, there's some traffic as you get to the junction, then coming around Muthaiga Square. It's a bit busy coming off of Manyanja Road. Some of that traffic also on Kangunda Road, and we're seeing some of that also coming through towards Mama Lucy, then out towards Outer Ring. Okay, all one to watch, but I think we should be fine. It's a bit busy now is when it's getting busy. Friday wake up late perhaps. We'll see how it all progresses through the morning. Let's talk Spice FM KE on X hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 8:08 on this 23rd day of August. It's already Christmas and the bells are ringing. I'm telling you, this year has gone by so quickly. Yes, I've decided it's Christmas. Do that as you wish. Welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. And we're looking at situations from Kenya to the world. And it continues this hour. And our guest for this hour is already seated. As we get into that, let's remind you about how health is wealth.
Well, it is. It's actually a little more than even health and wealth alone. It is about the future and how bright and how wonderful it can be, or how dreary and miserable it can be. Why? If you are well, life will look good. If you continue being well, you can do many things. The moment you are unwell, it brings to a halt plans, it brings to a halt implementations of things you wanted to do. Ill health is something no one looks forward to. But to stay healthy, you need to be vigilant. And to be vigilant, you need to understand the status of your health. The Aga Khan University Hospital is saying, look, we can help you do this. for 9,950 Kenya shillings, go to any of our outlets across the country, and we will be able to give you a checkup like no other. We will ensure we give you a thorough checkup so that you know what it is that ails you, you know what it is that might ail you, you know how it is you can prevent all these impending calamities. To know your health is the best thing you can do for yourself.
There you go.
Because then you could argue you are preparing yourself for the present as well as for the future.
Indeed.
Yes.
Cradle Study Abroad World Fair is taking place on the 31st of August from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. So you ask, who's Cradle? Well, Cradle is developing the study abroad industry, whereby it's been riddled with con men, scammists, all these people who want to make sure they take your money and you end up back in your village. No. They're saying, you know what? There's a way we can leverage technology to ensure that the university education that you seek outside of the country actually works. And it's hinged on the largest variety of universities, transparency, the fastest speed of service, the most efficient application service, and scientific career guidance. These 5 pillars can actually push you through in selecting your next education, or rather your next institution for education. So come on down to the Cradle Study Abroad World Fair on the 31st of August. Apply on the spot for amazing scholarships and also visa consultations. You need to register on www.cradle.com or call 0799 000 444 and get on your way towards a solid university education. All right, we're going to look at a number of issues this hour. And those issues will come as we discuss with the Member of Parliament in Samburu West constituency. Naisula Lesuda is not a guest or not a stranger to the Situation Room, and she's here with us this morning. Mheshimiwa, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well.
Yes?
How are you?
Very well. Good to have you here again.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
We've got a lot of things to talk about today, and I think one of the headliners that we'll be looking at is actually women's leadership and looking at that agenda and what it's actually providing for the country. But then there are so many other things that come into play that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. But we're going to welcome you in true Situation Room style as you're in the hot seat of the Situation Room. This fine gentleman, you know what he does. He goes around the country and gets back here, around the continent, gets back here really quickly, and he's got proverbs. He's got a proverb for today, so he's going to tell us what that is, and then you can tell us how you would interpret that.
Well, I was hoping I don't get that, but yes.
I mean, a cup of tea is a cup of tea,
I actually want to apologize for dashing your hopes, because dashing your hopes is what I'm going to do, because I am going to state the proverb, and thereafter I am going to ask you what you think or how you'd interpret it. Our proverbs for the last 4 weeks, including this week, have been from countries on the continent of Africa that are landlocked. This is the final proverb from the country of Chad, the Republic of Chad, which is landlocked. Next week, we'll be looking at countries that border huge water bodies, meaning oceans. So we'll be going around Africa looking at those countries. He who will be famous, he who wants to be famous, will have many sleepless nights. See? Mheshimiwa knows it's a simple proverb. Simple, straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, the beauty is there's no right or wrong answer on this.
Correct, Mheshimiwa.
Yeah, so if you want to be famous, you'll have sleepless nights because you'll have a lot to do and to take care of. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. So, because there's a lot you'll have to do, there's a lot you have to deal with to make sure that then you're famous. And sleepless nights doesn't mean that it was going to be easy. It's going to have its own ups and downs, and you have to deal with it. So simply put, that is what it is, sleepless nights.
Yep. A lot of work is going to go into it. A lot of work has also gone into, what many call the struggle, getting into certain places of leadership. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen quite a number of things happen, Mheshimiwa. If you want to look at some historical aspects, we've seen for the first time in Kenya's history female AG. We have seen that the Chief Justice making some statements. We have seen an impeachment third time, and this time many would say successful, or unfortunate impeachment of governor. There are many things happening right now. I'd like to get your overview as somebody who is quite, in the forefront when you say some of these things. We saw the impeachment of the Meru governor happen very quickly. The week before last, the motion came from the Meru County Assembly and she was impeached. It went to Senate. Submissions were given. And the next day, Senate made the decision to impeach her. Your thoughts about that? Let's start off with that impeachment issue.
So I must say that the impeachment of Governor Kawira is unfortunate. And I'm not speaking looking at it from the gender lens. I would have said the same things if it was a male governor who went through, especially the third impeachment process, like what Governor Kawira went through. Having followed keenly the first and the second impeachment, I find it that the MCAs of Meru County are determined, regardless of whether she does anything better in her leadership style, whether she improves on the issues that were raised. They're determined. And why do I say so? Immediately her impeachment was thrown out the second time, we had the MCAs singing outside the Senate, and we had them address the media, both in Nairobi and also in Meru County, saying that in the next 6 months, because that is what the provision of the law says, that you can start an impeachment process again after 6 months, they said, we will bring you back here, So, meaning, we are not successful, but we'll bring you a third and a fourth and a fifth time until you go home. And why I'm saying I don't want to look at it as a gender, that just because she's a woman, we've already crossed that bridge. She's already successful. She's the governor. So we're not going to dwell on which tyrants she flawed and all that. That we have already crossed. It's about her now as the governor. So there is that aspect, that the MCAs are determined that Governor Kawira has to go home. The Senate, my assumption is that they were thinking 3 times is too many. And that is what Kenyans are also thinking, that, hey, you'll keep coming here. It's like we have no other business to do. And politics is all about facts, but also perceptions and misperceptions and misconceptions, And so I feel like the Senate felt that, what? For Meru County to move forward, we have to sacrifice one person, and that unfortunately is Governor Kawira, so that then Meru County can move forward. And why do I say so? Because of how rushed the process was, and even the process was flawed. Because in the first place, we're having the same charges from the second impeachment, word for word, in the third impeachment. You found them not suitable for her to go home in the second impeachment. What happened in the third impeachment, where we have the same charges, the things, and it was mostly about abuse of office, the people that were employed, irregularly and all that. That was canvassed and concluded in the second impeachment. So what changed in the third impeachment? The third issue is that after the whole process in the Senate, the Speaker ruled that there will be no debate. Why should they? So that looks like something that already they've come to listen to the impeachment process with a fixed mind that Governor Kawira has to go. I mean, why couldn't have members, the 14 or the less than 14 who voted against the impeachment, have their say, even if they won't have their way? Parliaments are there for debate, for argument, for both those for and those against. And so I found it wrong that there was no debate after the submissions. The third issue that I saw also that tells me there was a predetermined thought about her impeachment is that she was not given the floor, the stand, to speak, because an accused, even if you're going to impeach her, should be given the floor to actually say a few things. And maybe one of the things she would have said is that these are the same charges in the second impeachment. That did not happen. So I just feel that this was a fixed thought, and it looks like even the political parties, there was a directive, I don't know, or they had a position, I don't know. But I mean, in the manner and the process that it happened, you can just tell there's an issue. However, that is not to say that Governor Kawera, who already has reprieve from the court ruling, my feeling and my thought is that Governor Kawera is also just a circumstance maybe of her leadership style. I don't know, because it's just my thought. And so if she survives through the courts, she has to also retrospect and to think about her leadership style. And why do I say that? That anytime there's conflict, there has to be a process of mediation. There has to be a process, because as I've said, it probably is not really tangible issues because were thrown out in the second impeachment. But it seems to me there's a relationship issue between herself as the governor and the MCAs and the members of parliament from that county and generally the leadership of that county. The public, we can't say they have a problem with Governor Kawera.
Right.
They elected her.
Indeed.
Regardless of all the challenges. She's an independent candidate. She fought the man and all that. So it has nothing to do with the public. The public will have another chance in case she survives after 5 years in 2027 to say whether they have a problem with Kawera or not. But in between here, then it has to be, the onus has to be on the governor to make an extra effort to see to it that there will be a mediation process. Allow me to cite that when Governor Anne Waiguru was impeached and the impeachment was thrown out, I am privy to the fact that there was a mediation process between her and the MCAs of Kirinyaga, where the mediators were the Mount Kenya Foundation leadership, where we know they generally come from the central part of Kenya. We have very renowned and respected old men and people who have been in leadership in various private sector and all that in public sector. And they sat through for about 3 or 4 days, listening to the MCAs, listening to the governor, bringing them together, them not agreeing, them disagreeing, and then generally just agreeing that for the sake of the county, we have to work. And that does not mean that the MCAs do not do their oversight job. Please do your oversight job, but objectively. The governor, as you execute as the executive, as you execute your mandate as well, respect the other leadership and the roles that they have to play, and then you move forward as a county. And so those are just my thoughts.
Was the gender card played? Because there's from very many sectors saying that, well, the reason why they're going after her like this is because she's a woman. And then would you see it then as an impediment to leadership from a women's perspective? Many said, well, the only reason why they're doing this is because they didn't want her there. It's a traditional patriarchal society. But then going back to the point that, well, really? But they voted her in on an independent ticket. So can we really play the gender card here?
I really don't want to advance that agenda because the more we continue to advance it, and as I have said, she already beat her odds at the ballot when she was elected. Of course, there are many stereotypes that hinder the leadership and the advancement of the leadership of women, which Governor Kawera trounced the day she was elected as a governor. And the moment now she holds the office, she then becomes the governor of Meru. And she's a woman, yes, it's a fact. But then those who will want to tell us don't play the gender card will raise the real issues. Was there abuse of office? Did you go against the Constitution and all that? And I would like to stick on those issues. And I still think even going by those issues, the impeachment of Kawera to me is quite unfortunate, and it is biased. So yes, it could be that yes, it's a woman, and she has had, there's always that point that we can't believe how she beat all these men on an independent ticket and all that. But really, that is not what was before the Senate during the impeachment.
Right.
And so we stick to the issues, and still looking at the issues, I think the impeachment of Governor Kawera was flawed.
I just when you spoke on the mediation, I mean, it's talking about her responsibility and efforts to at least ensure that she's engaging better with the MCAs, at least as a leader. It was very clear that in the second impeachment, process, she, apologized 70 times, they say, 69 times to the MCAs, and one specific apology to the speaker, and also the Njuri Cheke, if I pronounce it correctly, just distanced themselves from this particular one. When you speak of mediation, I mean, in that position, what else would in your sense would she do? She even tried to add some funding, I think, for the ward, allocation by a bit of money there. So I'm looking at her leadership style really coming in, and the mediation and the apology, and why it didn't work for her this time.
So Anki, for someone who has been I've done a lot in the peace field. An apology is not enough.
Okay.
It is a start, right, of goodwill, of olive branch, that here I am, I've apologized, and I would like us to have a conversation. It can't end there. You can imagine something that has built up for the last 2 years cannot end with just saying, I'm sorry. It is a start. And the mediation has to happen, because also sometimes when we don't talk with each other, what happens a lot with us, the leadership in our country, is we talk at each other. I say my point, you say your point, and mine is right and yours is wrong. That is how we do it. And so you could find that generally it's a lot of, because there's no communication, with each other, then the MCAs have a certain view of the governor. And then the governor, because she's not talking with the MCAs, she has a different view of them. And so it will continue to be a pull and push between the two of them, and even the other leaders, because we've seen also members of parliament, almost all of them, siding with the MCAs.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the governor then comes out like she's a lone ranger and working alone. But probably if they sat together, and I know His Excellency the Deputy President tried. He had a meeting with the leadership, the MCAs. I know he's had meetings with the MPs and even with Governor Kawira. But you see, again, I keep saying mediation is a process. Peace is a process. It's not a one-off. So it can take 2 days, it can take 3 days, it can take a month, and it could even take 2 months. And then later we will just realize, what? These guys can actually work together with everyone doing their job, and Governor Kawira might just become one of the best governors under the right space and environment to perform. And then you find that, she will even be re-elected in 2027. And the men will be like, hi, this lady is not that bad. And the lady will be like, okay, so the issues the MCAs are raising are genuine. Maybe I need to correct ABCD. So we really need to talk with each other. Look at Governor Kipwana. He was written off. By the time he was calling for the disillusionment of Makueni County, he had been written off by the leadership, by everybody, and even by most Kenyans. What happened? When they sat down and they talked together and they reasoned together, he was able to perform and to go to an election. He is one of the best governors we keep referring to. And he was even re-elected a second term. And we're looking at the work he's done at the health sector in the economy of Makueni in making sure that there's value addition in the agriculture sector and everything in Makueni. And so for me, mediation is a process, and it has to be followed.
You're clearly a peacemonger. Clearly, because you've put it so beautifully well. Yes, the unlikely and yet very positive outcomes when people are willing to simply listen and talk with each other. About Makueni, if I get my figures right, when we had the election in the new election cycle, only one of the MCAs went back. So indeed, the people of Makueni sided with their governor. The very thing that you've said seems to be the one thing that we have not been able to do as a country. Where people hold on to positions and they stick by those positions. So the opportunity to even let a little air get into the position so that you can reevaluate it is not given.
Yeah, there's no really a chance for people to reason together because people have taken very hard positions. And that's why I said on this one, it's not just about Kawira and her being a woman. It is for any other governor. If we go the way and the route that we're going, we're really lowering the threshold of impeachment. We're really going low. Because then, using the same charges, just because you bring the same charges, nothing new. And the governor then goes. The deputy governor is a beneficiary of an impeachment process, very happily. So the sweat of the governor, you get it through an impeachment process because campaigning is not easy. And so then what happens is that then we're giving the mandate, and it was given very rightfully by our constitution to a few people. There was a thought process on why those few people are given the mandate. But then the threshold has to be clear and it has to be high. So that by the time we're impeaching you, we are so clear in our minds that you've broken the law, you have not followed the constitution, you've abused office, and then we'll all be comfortable saying, you know what, you have to go. That is why the decision is on a very few number of people through the impeachment process. And there is the bigger population, which also has, and I'm not saying it is wrong, that is why it was in our constitution, but the threshold has to be high up there. Otherwise, first we will discourage other people from ever running for office. As a woman, I'd be so scared to run, put so much effort, so much resources, sell my agenda manifesto, and then a few people lower the threshold of impeachment. Don't forget that once you're impeached in this country, you cannot ever hold any public office, one. And two, once you are impeached, you can never run for any other elective position.
All right.
So the threshold has to be up there.
Very, very
and
high.
you have to convince me why this person has to go home.
Let's take a break on that point. Going to come back and the other elevated conversations having just from a member of parliament's point of view and in terms of some kind of accountability also being pushed for whether it comes to education, coming off a topic that we just had the last hour, a conversation that we just had the last hour in terms of what we are looking at and how Parliament looks at certain things that have been made law, that have been made mandatory or made absolutely necessary. Lusuda Naisula is our guest this hour, and we continue with that conversation. We'll come back and take a look, after we take a look at weather and traffic. We'll be back after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast.
Now, by the way, see, I thought you are...
Nilifikiri umefanya ile kitu. No, I know what you are thinking.
Now, when you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital, they have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. The weather with Spice FM.
14 in Nairobi, highs of 22, and into a sunny Nakuru, 16 going to highs of 22, 14 and cloudy in Nyeri with highs of 20, and we'll see highs of 21 in a sunny Eldoret. 25 and sunny conditions going to highs of 29 in Mombasa, and we'll see highs of 29 in a mostly sunny Malindi at 26. Kisumu at 20 is sunny with highs of 28, and at 19 Kakamega is sunny with highs of 28. Sunny conditions at 20 in Kampala with highs of 27, and at 23 it's sunny in Dar es Salaam going to highs of 30. 10 in Johannesburg with highs of 19, and at 27 it's cloudy in Mogadishu with highs of 29. 13 and sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 19, while Lagos at 24 is cloudy with highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 29 in a partly sunny Kinshasa at 22.
Spice up your life.
There's just a little bit of traffic coming on Kangunde Road now. It's touching on Outer Ring, and whatever is left on the thicker superhighway is just coming through the Pangani Tunnel. Shouldn't be too crazy for now. Landis Road is starting to pack up, going to Haile Selassie, and we're seeing some movement now right around Lusaka Road, crossing over the interchange, going towards the southern bypass. So that looks like it's going to be busy for a while. Waiaki Way is not too bad, getting into the CBD. So, keeping an eye on all of this. United Nations Avenue might pack up just a bit. Let us know what's happening where you are this morning. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
24 minutes to 9 o'clock. And as this conversation continues, if you're tuning in just now, just continuing from where we were, our guest this hour is the Honourable Naisula Lesuda, who is the Member of Parliament for Samburu West constituency, and looking at a number of issues. I mean, going over this previous topic of looking at the impeachment, but I think it segues into many others as we look at it at this point. The accountability of Parliament has come out loud and clear. The accountability issues when we look at very many things around the country and say who's going to push for it. Education is a big one, and we've seen many rumblings over the last couple of days. Teachers going on strike, funds in terms of bursaries, who should put them in one pot, who should do what, and then we say, well, how come the politicians, how come the members of Parliament are not pushing for these issues when we talk about some of them needing to be done? Where are we? What's going on?
Right. So, as you've rightly put, education is one of the key pillars of any country, and for us as a nation. And I have said it, and I've been on record that we can't gamble with the future of our people and our children, and so we have to get it right. But do I have to say also, and I'm not saying that Parliament should be validated or be given credit, but a lot happens in Parliament. A lot of work actually goes in there. But we have set our minds that the preamble of any question to a parliamentarian is that we're doing nothing, that there's nothing we're doing. I mean, that is also just a fixed thing in our minds as Kenyans, and that's allowed, as we were told. If you want to be successful, you'll have sleepless nights. So and that perception has always also just amazed me on how.
Why do you think that perception persists,
So maybe it happened once that that parliamentarians have let Kenyans down, but then it continues, and I keep saying, and even the few that are doing well, we are always lumped together. We have to also start recognizing those who are doing good and well, because then it amplifies what we would like to see as a country, even amongst parliamentarians. But what happens is that the negative is what, of course, and that's what sells. That is what is news. But I also keep saying that we have to show the other side, because the thing is, then it's like we're glorifying those who are also not doing the right thing. let me ask you, for example, who do we give news half the time? Who do we clap for, even as the public, when they enter a function? Who do we, who are we amplifying? What are we really saying also as a people? But there could be a member of parliament, from a constituency, not a good known constituency or a popular constituency, maybe not loud, not quiet, but working silently. Do we give them those spaces and to amplify their job? But that's a story for another day. Today we're talking about issues, and one of them is education, as you have said. For example, personally, I raised the question on the new education funding. I asked for a statement
in Parliament,
to the chairperson of education. And the question is, as a nation, one, I don't believe in, if something is working, why do we have to change it? Just because the policy probably was from a previous regime or a previous president and all that, you can improve it without really overhauling the whole process. Because we're a work in progress as a country, really. And governments are there for continuity. Having said that, we have a major overhaul in our higher education funding model, which has caused anxiety, panic in the country. And one of the results of it is that there was a report that the number of students who will be joining university this time has really gone down. Those who have accepted their calling letters. And I strongly believe this could be one of the challenges, because parents received a fee structure that was crazy, of up to 100,000+, and there was no explanation on what the government is going to pay and what the parent or the guardian is going to pay. That is why the ministry revoked, and also His Excellency the President then said that statement should be revoked. But why already cause panic to parents? Some have already written off. Actually, they've even looked for colleges and TTIs because, and there are things we cannot be doing guesswork or trisex or trying. It has to come out to the public when it is soundproof, when it is clear, and it especially on matters health and matters education. Those people who are holding those offices have to get that right, because you can't cause panic and then just like it's easy drop it now. Okay, now we've thought about it, drop it, and then again say, oh yeah, the deadline is on 15th. Oh, extend it. I mean, you can't play around with our children and the guardians and parents who are already so stressed with the economy and everything, and now you're stressing them even further.
And yet, Mweshimiwa, sorry, I have to interrupt. And yet, even with that realization, it happens every time with every issue.
For example, we're having an issue. There are floods. You tell children to go to school. The next minute, when they're ready to go to school, 2 days to... Others have already booked their buses. And then again you say, oh, no, it looks like the rains are still here. Oh, don't go to school. And we still move. And we go and we,
not even 2 days.
Call it out.
Midnight.
Midnight.
It was midnight.
And then you wake up again and say, you know what? Oh, no, you go to school. And then don't go to school. Excuse me, we are stressing Kenyans. I think those who are mandated to do the execution, the executive, Kenyans are already stressed as it is. Please just don't make it worse for them. And that is why you saw them on the streets. You saw them banning Parliament. You saw them banning every other institution, because they just feel like, you know what, you're taking us for granted. Anyhow, we're where we are now. We're where we are now with this education funding model. We have said also as a parliament that please communicate and communicate efficiently and effectively. But then again, we didn't say now go use people's funerals and burials. When people are mourning, people want to go and bury already. It's already 4:00. Now you think that is where you're going to share your policies. There are very many other forums. There are very many other mediums that you can effectively communicate to Kenyans. And so now the questions that Kenyans are having is one. So people have a field and there are 5 bands. You're placed by it's automated. It places you from the information that you have keyed in the band 1, band 2, band 3, and band 5. What we're saying is that we hope by now every student knows where to log in. I have it, but I'll have to look for it. But also it should be those who are the executors. My role is to oversight that they have done well. They should communicate to the students and the guardians to do it. Then you're placed band 1 or whichever band. What we discussed in Akamkunji the other day is that, and the speaker gave a ruling on the same, is that apart from just that, we need to have an appeal system, because I could be placed in the wrong band. And I have seen many children who are probably from the single parent or, single parent, they get more than an orphan.
Yes.
Or, or something like that. And I had also asked in my question whether this had been piloted properly, that it works. You can't pilot with kids who are reporting in September, actually in 2 weeks. But that is what we're doing. That's why we piloted. We realized it's not giving us the right thing. We withdrew. We are piloting actually with real kids, real children who are going to school in 2 weeks' time.
Can I ask a function question for Parliament? Because you've mentioned this a couple of times and you said you questioned. You raised a question on the floor of the House. Who answers? And when do they answer?
As it is now, as it was the chairpersons, or because that is how in our constitution, that's the model that we chose when we passed the constitution. But constitutions also are work in progress. So as we implement, we realize what needs to change. And that is why the other day we brought an amendment so that the cabinet secretaries can now come to Parliament, so that they can also answer questions. And many were saying why you bring it back is because as we work, we realize the chairperson will not sufficiently answer those questions. If anything, they are reading what the cabinet or the PS has written at the ministry, or probably even the cabinet secretary did not write, they sign. They give the technocrat down there, and they're only brought for the statement to sign, and they give the chairperson in Parliament. But when the CS comes, they have to own it. They have to own the process. They have to say exactly what they're doing. And so the speaker then has ruled, and I hope they do what Parliament, because as I'm telling you, Parliament sometimes does its job, but then the implementers and the executors don't. So it has been ruled by the speaker that then each higher institution should have a desk when the students report. So that anyone who has a question, anyone who needs to appeal, anyone probably who's not familiar with technology so much or whatever, can have a desk where they can raise those questions. Most likely that won't happen. Kids will go to school and there'll be no one to assist them or to appeal on what already they have. The second question that then we ask, I hope we have the funds for this. Because you've now lowered, there's a student which I saw the government bloggers were very happy to circulate that a student will only now pay 15,000, and that's just one or two cases across the country. There are still others who will still pay more depending on the band, but now they're very happy clapping on the 15. My question also has been, so the government is taking up a huge chunk of it through scholarship and bursaries. And then the parent now, if you're in band 1, will pay quite a small amount. So there is a parent, even if it's a small amount, can only raise maybe a quarter or a half of it when they're opening school. I hope the government then has capitation of the 70% ready of the scholarship and bursary. Because otherwise, our higher institutions also will face, already they're facing a capitation problem. I am the vice chair of PIC, Public Investments Committee, which then oversights education and matters governance. So I know the challenges that our universities are also going through. So now already they don't get their normal capitation. Now you've said you're going to give them, you've seen us on the floor asking about delays in help. You've seen, now we are saying not only help, we are also giving bursaries and scholarships. I hope that money will be there. Otherwise, these children and parents will be so strained, they'll be sent home because of school fees, or they won't sit for their exams because government has not remitted capitation to the higher education institutions. Where do those students then get government? As in whose government? Who? You will see a lot of strikes in the coming months if we do not get it right, because then as I said, it has to have been something that was thought through properly, including how that money will be remitted before those students sit for the exams. I am not too sure that has been done.
But I don't, this is the thing, and I think, you'll forgive me, but I think it incenses me at some point, because we look at function, don't we? And then we bring it back to, CT said earlier that politicians feed off of the emotions or the position of the people. Mm-hmm. And just from what you're saying now, I think it is thoroughly frustrating for the parents who will send, whether it is their little children, 3, 4, 5 years old, to school, or the parents who will send their 18, 19-year-old to university from wherever they are in the country. And here we are having a conversation about a plan that has been put in place. And the people who have made the plan do not even know if they will have enough in terms of resources to watch that plan live out. These are the people who are planning the country. Don't know. Yeah. How do we resonate? How should we, if not with anger or frustration?
So there's this whole debate, and it's a welcome debate and a timely one, and especially when we're dealing with this issue of the new funding model, on the whole issue of bursaries, where you have the governor who's issuing bursaries, which I have to say, I do not understand why governors should be giving out bursaries to high school and universities. And also we have a notion in this country, when someone says something like that, it is then said that Naisula is fighting her governor or fighting a governor. I said, let us speak with each other. I raise my point, you raise yours on why you think you should. And then we all listen to each other and get something good out of it. So my point is, and why I said that is because in the Constitution and in our laws, the functions of the county governments mostly is on ECD, early childhood education. So why are you giving bursaries to the higher education and the secondary schools? But that's a discussion for another time. And then we have the MPs through NGCDF who are giving out the bursaries. We have women reps also giving out bursaries, and then we have the presidential, there's something, a scholarship fund where he's giving out bursaries and all that. Honorable Esther Passaris brought a motion in Parliament again. Parliamentarians are doing their role. She brought a motion where she's saying, let's lump all this money together, and it's a conversation going on in the country, and then it is done from the ministry through the basic education. I do not agree with that.
Thank you so much.
Because
Thank you.
I do not agree with that. You know why? My friends, when we passed the Constitution and we said we want issues to be devolved, we want matters to be devolved, you want to take back again bursaries all the way to Jogo House. So that it is disbursed, whether it's through capitation or whatever, and deciding who is the child gets the bursaries, we can only get it to the lowest, devolve it further. There are genuine concerns on issues bursaries which are being raised. It matters corruption, where the people who disburse it, some even ask if the check is for 50,000, probably they tell you bring something small, I give you the 50,000. I mean, those are allegations. I don't know how true they are. So
Smoke,
issues
fire.
of corruption.
Okay, yeah.
There are issues of corruption again, ghost schools, where we get bursaries issued to schools where the schools don't exist. There is also the issue of duplication. The member of parliament gives the same student, governor gives the same student, everybody gives the same student, while probably there's another student who has not gotten. So there's the issue of duplication. And finally, the issue of discrimination. Probably you didn't support me in my political journey, so I'm not going to give you bursary. So the whole issue of discrimination also happens. But having said that, for me, if you take away all these bursaries, because I saw my good friend Honorable Sankok, so that we're also not just sensationalizing issues, I saw Honorable Omtata saying how much it is, and if you really lump it up, we can have free education for all. I am for free education for all, not bringing it back to some office at Jogo House. If that money can actually really give us free education for all, I mean, I would be so happy as the member. I'm so happy as the member of Parliament of Samburu to be offloaded the burden of issue of bursaries. I'd be so happy, because it's not easy, by the way, also, because the money is paltry, the people are many. Take that money, provided that money gives us free education for our children. And again, when we say free, it has to be free.
But Mheshimiwa, I mean, the question is this: the huge amount that is allocated to education. Are you sure that money cannot give us the free education we want?
Yes, no. Is it even all this money that's bursary all over
all
the
these other
place?
things that come about.
I know. So I sit also in budget committee,
right?
And so I have the privilege of seeing things as they are. I mean, they get about is it 6 billion or 7?
100.
Yeah,
100.
100.
Budget for education.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to say of because the thing is, so it's education, but I wanted to segment it, but that's a long thing. No, but I want to say this. So when you look at education, it comes in many forms. One, where we have the Teacher Service Commission, it's still under the budget of education, where we have to pay our teachers, right?
Yes.
We have the higher education, where we also have to give the help and all. We have the issues of infrastructure, from primary school all the way to our universities. We have our lecturers who have to be paid. We have the school feeding program, where we have to feed our children in the ASL areas. We have the curriculum development. We have to develop our curriculum, and so on and so on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And they all get their budgets from that 600B. Sorry, I keep getting the figures wrong. But so they all have to get it here. Also, don't forget issues to do with capitation, because free primary education is actually free.
Is it?
Where they get where I know that it's not free is where we say we have free day school education. And that is what I keep saying. If we're doing free, please just say it is free.
Yes.
If it is not free, it is not free.
Let me just chime in here, Mheshimiwa. Have we been shown evidence by those like yourselves who understand this, and the mandarins in Jogo House, the Ministry of Education, that this money is insufficient for these tasks? Have they demonstrated that this money is insufficient?
I mean, for free education,
for
and that is why, that is why now Kenyans are saying, please get all these bursaries and put it, together, and then give us free education. Because to be fair, all this, what I have said, all these departments and all these other roles require funding, and we actually allocate the funds during the budget process. It is allocated. So genuinely, we have to get extra funding for us to get that, as much as I'd want to hate or to whatever, we would have to look for extra resources for us to make it free.
Let me just ask, because we're getting to the top of the hour, has it been demonstrated that it is insufficient? The reason why I'm making it that simple is because the reason why we have specialities in disciplines is so that we are able to get the nitty-gritty, get to the heart of the matter. This devolved system where you have bursary and the other is for a reason. There is thinking behind it. It isn't just somebody who woke up and had a vision. No, some serious thinking went into it. It can't just be pushed aside and say that when we push it aside, we'll solve the problem. We won't. If it can be demonstrated, and that burden is not on you, it is on the Ministry of Education to demonstrate clearly.
It's not enough.
Yes.
Yeah, and once they demonstrate, and please, it should also be clear that members of parliament, I'll speak for Naisula, I have no reason why I want to hold on to bursaries if indeed it is demonstrated to me, as you're saying, because it's not me actually, it's not mine. NGCDF is not Naisula. I am just oversighting as a member of parliament. And so if it is demonstrated scientifically, as you have said, that if you mop up all these bursaries, that we are going to have free education for our children, we will support that policy when it comes there. But we can't also just blanketly, as you're saying, just saying this is going to help us, this is not going to help us.
And they haven't demonstrated that what we have currently is not meeting the needs. Even that hasn't been demonstrated.
Exactly.
Yes.
So let us see how this pans out, especially the new funding model. I really pray that, and I hope, and we will be keeping, not just pray, because we also have a thing of just praying. The praying I wanted to say is the praying that I will be keeping tabs really, because I asked the question, and I'll be keeping tabs to see that our students who qualified, who worked so hard to qualify to go to these institutions, are well funded. You know why I was also saying that is because, for example, we have challenges of collecting money as a country, and then exchequer being remitted.
Yes.
I mean, NGCDF Samburu West has not received 46 million of the previous financial year, even as we start this one. So how are we sure that the monies for capitation for the new funding model will get to schools on time?
We are sure they won't.
And I keep saying, we don't. It's not a problem of we don't have money. It is priorities, because you've noticed when teachers make noise, somehow money just is found for them not to go on strike. When MPs say, "Oh, we need NGCDF because we need classrooms," somehow the money is found. So it is about priorities, and I'd really hope we can prioritize education. We can prioritize matters to do with health. The last question I wanted to say about the new funding model is we're going the US way, where we're giving loans. So, of course, we're saying it's free. We're lessening the burden on the parent with a 70%, but 45% is a loan, or 50% is a loan. By the time this poor child who comes from a poor background is graduating and gets their first job, and the first job, the entry level would be about 40,000. You're starting with a huge loan.
You have a debt already.
You already have a debt. And that is why in the US, one of the campaign issue, the main campaign, one of the issues is the writing off of the school of the student loans. You will see in the next campaign agenda, school, that even in Kenya, it will be an issue where students will be saying, please write off for us the loans. So, I mean, we have to look, and nowadays I've become, being a third timer now in Parliament, I look at things differently and not at face value of what is brought, oh, this is good, oh, it is here. I have to think deeper. Who's the beneficiary? What is it for? Is it practical? And when we raise these issues, because that is our role in government, I am not fighting the government. I'm doing my job so that there's accountability, so that it works, so that we change what needs to be changed, even as we implement. Thank you very much.
Naisula Lesuda, thank you very much for being here this morning. Definitely conversations that need to happen so that we keep letting it be known that we know, isn't it? Yeah. Member of Parliament for Samburu West constituency. We'll see you again in the hot seat in the near future. Asante Sana. It's a minute after 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life.
It's now 9 a.m. Get effective relief from strong.
Ubaga. 4 people have died in separate road accidents in Kiambu, Makueni and Nyandarua counties. In Kiambu, a motor vehicle and a truck heading to Nairobi from Thika was involved in an accident along the Thika superhighway near Bederin Hotel in Thika. The accident happened when the driver of the motor vehicle was changing lanes from the middle lane to the inner lane, during which it hit the rear side of the truck. 2 passengers on board died as a result of the accident, while the driver sustained serious body injuries. In Makueni, the accident occurred in the Kimundu area, leaving 1 person dead, and another accident that took place in Nyandarua. So a motorcycle rider hit by a motor vehicle, falling on the tarmac, where she sustained head injuries and a fracture on the left leg, leaving her dead. Junior secondary school teachers in Uasin Gishu County have warned the Teacher Service Commission against using the funds allocated to hire JSS teachers to resolve the needs of teachers who are threatening to go on strike on Monday. National leaders of JSS leaders, that is teacher stories, led by Faith Kogay, say the 13 billion shillings is meant to assist in hiring 46,000 teachers who are expected to implement the CBC curriculum.
Pesa zilitengwa kupitia supplementary budget 1 ile ambaye bwana Ndindi Nyoro alihakikishia kwamba pesa yetu imezingirwa. Kwa hivyo tunaomba zile shilingi 18.7 billion zisijaribu kuguzwa. CBC inaendelea kwa sababu ya walimu wa JSS. Sisi ndiye wale ambao ni madereva wa CBC, na kwa hivyo ukichezea dereva wakati ambapo anaendesha gari, hajali utokea saa yoyote ile. Confirm these teachers or CBC will die.
A 30-year-old man was shot and killed during a kidnap drama in Buna village, Wajir County. Police said they found the body of Ado Muhammad outside a house. Moments after known gunmen had raided there and kidnapped one Issa Omar Bule. The motive of the attack is yet to be known. And in the international scene, a massive 2,492 carat diamond, the second largest in the world, has been discovered in Botswana. The Canadian mining company that found the stone has announced the diamond was discovered in the Korowe diamond mine in northeastern Botswana using X-ray detection technology. Lucara Diamond Corp said in a statement, Lucara did not provide an estimation of the value of the diamond. In terms of carats, the stone is second only to the 3,016 carat Cullinan diamond discovered in South Africa in 1905. That's the news wire. I'm La Ubaka.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you're sentenced, you're sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice.
Until the sentence is set aside. Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No. Since I'm not shipping out. You know my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the ship in the bathtub? Or
the ship man?
One of Talam used to tell us a story of they were in school and they'd been told to write composition about a ship. His classmate raises a hand. Teacher, are you talking about a ship or a ship goat?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
all right, where are we at? A few minutes after 9 o'clock. Traffic in the city still doing the thing. Well, actually, not really, because more or less has disappeared. Thika Superhighway, a smidgen of that left as you get towards off the Thika Superhighway towards the Pangani Tunnel. There's no traffic anywhere else today. Here we are baying for traffic, but no, not really. I think everybody's getting where they're going this Friday without any holdups, and so that's great. Let's keep an eye on things this morning, shall we? Let's see what happens as we come out of what would be traffic hour, and we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
At a few minutes after 9 o'clock, 7 minutes after 9 o'clock on this 23rd day of August, coming into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation for the day, for the week. And finalizing that conversation, we'll tell you what we're talking about. in just a little bit, looking now at really why counties are embracing culture as a tool for socioeconomic development and how exactly all of that is playing out. Looking at the county system, and our guests are seated. But before we get into that conversation for this hour, CT, health, wealth, why?
Well, you can be as healthy as you wish, but wishing won't actually keep you healthy. You need to be deliberate about ensuring that you actually stay healthy. Now, the Aga Khan University Hospital understands that a great deal, and it's for that reason that they're saying, look, we have this offer we are making. For 9,950 shillings, you can go to any Aga Khan University hospital across the country, and for that amount of money, you will get a comprehensive medical checkup. They will look into the nooks and crannies of your body, and they will tell you where things are not what they ought to be. If there's additional care you need to take, they will tell you, and they will direct you whether you will need something more intensive than what is being offered. But it's absolutely necessary, because to understand and to know the status of your health is how it is you'll be in a position to actually make the wealth you spoke of. Now, for men over 40, I would advise you do that at least twice a year.
Okay.
There will be some ailment lacking in your system. When people are rushed to hospital, it isn't as though they were sick that day. They've been sick for a while. But that's the day the ailment has decided to manifest itself fully. And when it manifests itself fully, it is you, hospital. And it's you needing some intensive health care. All that can be avoided.
There you go. Okay, then what about the UK? What about the US, Australia, Northern Cyprus, Germany, Turkey, UAE, Ireland, Grenada, New Zealand? These are countries whose universities will be on showcase at the Cradle Study Abroad World Fair that takes place on the 31st of August. Why do you want to go? You want to go because all of the information that you need will be in one place at one time. You can apply for admission on the spot and actually get it. You can get information on amazing scholarships that are available, visa consultation, the visa officers will be there, admission information, so you can find out when you get accepted, how you're going to pay for it, where you're going to live, and how you're going to get there. All of that information answered for you. 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the 31st of August at the Gallant Mall in Parklands. And you can register, which we need you to do so that you can then be invited on www.cradle.com or call on 0799 000 444 and get all the information that you need. You're getting so many things done at the same time at the Cradle Study Abroad World Fair that takes place in just over a week. All right, we're looking to our conversation for this hour, and we're looking at how counties are embarking, embracing culture to towards socioeconomic good. And we're going to have two guests this hour. One of them is already seated. And as we get into that conversation, Kitavi Kaloki is the Assistant Director, Meru National Parks, and we're going to be using and looking at information about that. Good morning to you, and karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
You're in the hot seat of the Situation Room. Let's just warm things up a little bit for you. Even as we wait on Jeffrey Chabari, who's a County Director, Culture and Tourism, Tharaka Nithi County, we'll do that as he comes in. But let's start off with you in terms of our proverb today, and we'll welcome you properly. And then you tell us what you think about that and how you interpret that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our proverbs for the last 4 weeks have been from landlocked countries of Africa. And the country whose proverbs we have been looking at this week, the Republic of Chad. This is our final proverb for this week and the final proverb for this season for countries that are in Africa and are landlocked. He who wants to be famous will have many sleepless nights.
What do you think about that, Kaloki?
Yeah, that's quite something. About he who wants to be famous will have sleepless nights.
Many sleepless nights.
Of course, trying to become famous, you will spend a lot of energy, resources, time, and for you to get all this in place at a particular time. Of course, you'll have to have a lot of hassle trying to get all this at one. Yep.
The effort that is required may cause you to lose sleep. This is a fairly straightforward proverb.
It is. It is.
And the beauty of proverbs and the interpretations, you can't be wrong. Because it is your interpretation that we are looking for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so even as we get into this conversation today, I mean, culture is a big thing, isn't it? And oftentimes we talk about, okay, bring back our culture. How can we make sure that you actually see that being used in community? How can you ensure that you leverage that towards kind of success in country, right? So now we're looking specifically at how counties are embracing culture. Can we start off with that, really? How are counties embracing culture before we now talk to what they're doing with it? How are counties embracing culture, really? Because when you think about counties, you think, okay, well, there's brick and mortar. This needs to be done. Money needs to be paid. People need to be sorted out their salaries, and then that's it. We don't really think about maybe more salient issues. So how are counties using culture right now, or embracing culture?
You see, thank you. Culture has been ingrained in the society as a tool for development, but we find that especially after the development of the Millennium Development Goals in 2000, to get alongside the post-development agenda of 2015 that led to shaping up of the SDGs in 2016. Some of the dimensions that have been coined to steer or inspire sustainable development seem to have left out the cultural aspect or the cultural dimension, which has been very important. We find some of these dimensions, which include social inclusion, environmental sustainability, and economic development. These have been the dimensions of post-2015 development agenda. But you realize that they've somehow seem to fail to identify or bring about or read the world loud. The world can be seen. And we find culture coming as a component that is very crucial in trying to shape sustainable development and being more so a tool towards attaining the success of post-2015 development agenda. Yep.
Okay.
All right, can I just have a quick one? And I can also take the advantage of the fact that you are the Assistant Director, Meru National Park, and bring in in the most recent past, the human-wildlife conflict, now, destroying people's livestock. We're talking about hard economic times, yet we still have quite a number of animals getting their way into a number of our habitats as well. Perhaps you could bring Kenyans up to speed in terms of how then you are, speaking or sensitizing these communities to appreciate culture and also in the area of the human and wildlife conflicts.
Yeah, if we come to how we appreciate trying to mitigate human-wildlife conflict in the country across the various counties, we come to find out that climate change has been a key trigger to some of these threats to conservation. Climate change has triggered loss of biodiversity. With climate change, there's been excessives of drought, excessives of floods, and with these excessives, we find a lot of communities, some of whom are pastoralist communities, who would have their dispersal areas totally degraded, would find homage in the national parks, where we have pasture, we have a lot of water, and because of this, we've had a lot of livestock influx near our protected areas and the dispersal areas, some of which end up having incursions into the parks. With livestock incursions into the parks, we essentially are speaking of habitat loss and degradation, and pushing wildlife to extremes. Some of these wildlife, especially the water-based wildlife like the hippos, the crocs, will move upwards, where we have water stress. We have elephants moving outside their protected areas to go to look for water. We have issues of encroachment to these dispersal areas and habitats that are critical for wildlife conservation, and especially the corridors. The wildlife corridors are very critical, and any attempt to encroach these corridors triggers human-wildlife conflict. And it is in this space that we are trying to bring about the communities to understand the values of these corridors and their significance, and that's where we now encourage community participation. We realize we cannot work without the community. A community are key stakeholders whom we collaboratively work together to conserve these dispersal areas, and that's why this coming fortnight, that is between 4th and 7th, we are coming to try to tell them how we can integrate the cultural values to wildlife conservation. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm curious about the tasks. Elephant, is it tasks? How do you
tasks,
call it?
Yeah.
Just recently, I'm just talking about the headlines yesterday. I think you saw that.
Yeah.
So it could be the other way around, that humans are equally, because of what they might term their business culture, affecting what we should so much adore, the wildlife. We still see this kind of headlines. What does this mean to you? Are you sensitizing people enough to understand that there are certain retrogressive cultures that they might have to do away with? And are we putting enough money, if there's money to be put into it, to also help you achieve this goal of ensuring the communities appreciate the power in culture to restore this particular positive attributes?
Yeah, the recent highlights that have tried to bring about the threats to conservation, including poaching of wildlife. We find in every society you will not miss out on vices and people that bend negatively to impact on conservation of wildlife, and that's why we are up in arms trying to protect the wildlife together with the community. And it's still from among the community where through a lot of collaboration, sensitization, we'll be able to get information about what's going around. That's why now, after a lot of sensitization, you are able to see what is happening currently, because you can only reach these people through the community, because they live amongst the community.
Tell us about Meru National Park. I want to know, what is it that makes Meru National Park a unique place, a unique environment? What is it? What are these salient things that when one goes to Meru National Park, you'll know, okay, here, yes.
Thank you. Meru National Park, that was gazetted in 1966, since its inception as a park, it has rich biodiversity, but that is in terms of wildlife resources, where you find both the Big Five and the Special Five. Reason because
Special Five?
Yeah, that's where I'm coming to. You find the Big Five are commonly known by everybody, but the Special Five are not known by many people. Meru National Park enjoys having the ecotone effect. It has both the northern and southern hemisphere, where the equator crisscrosses the park. So we have some of these animals that have the ecological niche in the northern hemisphere that don't get to cross the southern hemisphere, and they're found within Meru National Park. It's only the park that you find both these animals. You'll find Special Five in the northern hemisphere, and you'll find the Big Five both in the northern and southern hemisphere. But it's only in Meru National Park where you find them complementing both the Big and Special Five. And this Special Five, the reticulated giraffe, which is currently endangered, can only be found in the northern hemisphere. The gravy zebra is also endangered. The gravy zebra. In the southern hemisphere, we have the common zebra. We have the Somali ostrich. That's only found in the northern hemisphere.
The one with the blue neck.
Yeah, the bluish neck and the gray feet. And we also have the Bisa oryx. That's only found in the northern hemisphere. And lastly, we have the Gerenuk.
The who?
The Gerenuk. Gerenuk, that is kind of looks like has a long neck.
It looks like an antelope with a long neck.
Looks like an antelope giraffe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this makes this park unique for visitors. Somebody who would want to get a combination of both, they need not to go to either southern or northern hemisphere landscapes. They can find them in Meru National Park. Besides, the park has a rich history. Remember the conservation history of George Graham Adamson and Joy Adamson in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Yeah, this George Adamson was a conservationist who would manage both Meru and Kora National Parks. Initially, they used to be referred as reserves until 66 when we had Meru as a national park, and 1989 when we had Kora gazetted as a national park. So they've left a mark of rich history in this park through the development of they've been able to publish books. We have the Born Free book, Forever Free and Living Free. I remember the Born Free book was acted as a film in 1960 and published in 1966. We have it in the public domain. It was acted by Bill Travers and Virginia McKenna. Virginia McKenna is still alive. She's in her 90s. Yeah, they acted this film where we had both George and Joy Adamson would take captive lion cubs and then keep them. These lion cubs would be rescued from the bush. Remember, there was history of lions causing a lot of conflict to humans, and whereupon there was so much outcry, hue and cry on the deaths of humans out of lion conflict. And George was tasked to look for these lions that would cause conflict. And unfortunately, George brought down the lion, not knowing the lioness would come out of the cave and attack. Then it was brought down. Later, as they entered the cave, they'll find these three cubs. Yeah, that's how they were able now to take one of the cubs, and they named it Elsa. And between 1956 and 61, they were able to take care of Elsa and later rewild Elsa into the wild. Yeah, this is rich history where we find tourists coming from as far as Australia, US, just coming to have the story told about George Adamson and the rich cultural history.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
However, I would like to know how Kenyans are benefiting from this and how counties are benefiting from. I mean, it could be Meru here today, the Aberdares tomorrow, Savo the day after. But this is great because there are people coming from far and wide to Kenya to learn about this rich history and enjoy it, whereby there could be so much more learning and appreciation of what Kenya has by Kenyans. And we often see that there are more people who come from outside the country to appreciate what Kenya has than people in Kenya traveling to appreciate what Kenya has. And it's a socio-economic activity. How is that happening?
Of course, Meru has been unpopular for a while ago until recently when we've been able to put Meru on the social media platforms to try to market the park to the locals. And we have history about Kenyans. We have the former Mau Mau revolutionary leader of the Meru region, Musa Tomwariama, who used to hide within Meru National Park during the onslaught and the insurgents of the colonial rule. And this also connects the Ameru people to the park. Besides, we collaboratively work with partners to see how we can bring both non-consumptive or wildlife-based resources, resource use, including trying to promote utilization of wildlife resources, where we issue permits to the locals. They can keep some of the wildlife that has been identified that can be kept by as wildlife farming. That one is an initiative and an incentive that is given to Kenyans, besides them now being able to come and visit and see what is in there for the Kenyans. What we realized was required was just to bring out the park, market the park. We realize in this era of technology, everybody is on the tab trying to look what is best, what can we find, what can we enjoy, what can entertain us. And that is where we found that we could leverage marketing all our parks, besides now just the local sensitizations and mall exhibitions.
Yeah. So in the 2000s, KWS went on this really robust marketing strategy to try and get more Kenyans to visit the parks, to visit a lot of these cultural sites, and to then make it very attractive. That actually, when you have as much in terms of diversity, cultural exhibitions, cultural places that Kenya actually does, the largest percentage of tourism for those who visit these areas, who visit these cultural exhibitions, cultural places, should be Kenyans. Right?
Right.
But that's not the case, even till today. Why do you think that is?
I see us moving from beach tourism and safari tourism, and this can only be done by embracing what we have started embracing as Kenya conference tourism. It requires a lot of goodwill from the government and government support now to embrace cultural tourism. We have the Turkana cultural experiences and the Maasai cultural experiences. Now, if we have now the Uraget cultural experience, and we have the Kisi, the Luya, the other tribes coming up with those calendars for cultural experiences, I think it will culminate into what can be done this month, the other month successively, because we realize that we have only the Maasai, the Turkana cultural festivals, then the Tharakas, and that's the end of it. And this is one of the areas that we feel like the local governments need to integrate culture to be able to stimulate and steer sustainable tourism through cultural experiences. And that's why this time we are trying to have this Uraget Cultural Festival, trying to make it as a tool for both wildlife conservation and sustainable development. We are trying to bring about the aspect of culture and tourism, where since the venue is just near the park, where people now, the marketing strategy is that once people visit the cultural venue during the 4 days, they are able also to visit these attraction sites, including Meru National Park and several other attraction sites within Tharaka Nithi County, which include the Gakeda Forest, Lake Ellis, the Kibuka Falls. We have so many attractions that currently we are using social media platforms to try to tell people it's not just about coming and sing the songs and cultural dances. It's about having been entertained and happy, having stories told about this place. Now you are able to experience it, go in situ and experience these wildlife-based resources and intertwine them with tourism. Yeah.
You know, one of the things that Meru has, which is very unique, is it's actually a geographical wonder. It's called Mount Kenya. It is. And as you're talking about the different aspects of tourism, there's a specific tourism that is specific to mountains. Very specific. And you see, Mount Kenya is unique. We have the mountains, we have mountain ranges, but Mount Kenya is unique. Very unique. Now, when you look at the flora and fauna, that is also an avenue for a different kind of attraction, because there are people who simply just like looking at plants and trees and whatever else there is there. Now, I do not know, perhaps a plan like that exists, but I do not know of any plan where we have actually focused on using this mountain as a tourist attraction, because there are people who actually go for it. There are activities that can only work around a mountain. And there are things that can be done to mountains that makes it such a unique proposition that people who ordinarily would come to Kenya simply because of the beach and the animals will now have something else that they probably cannot get easily.
The South Africans have done it, haven't they?
The South Africans have it. We have it, but we don't utilize ours. Perhaps there are plans and we don't know about it.
Yeah, currently we are working in partnership with Tharaka Nithi County Government. You realize that this part of Mount Kenya, the eastern side of Mount Kenya, has had a very little approach towards exploiting and exploring it for tourism activities. Simply because initially, before we had a lot of fragmented landscapes and people settling, would have a corridor from Meru National Park to Mount Kenya through Tharaka Nithi County. Because of settlements and fragmented landscapes and change of land cover and land use, these landscapes have been closed. So essentially, we don't have an activity that would motivate wildlife resources towards between the eastern slopes to Mount Kenya, but having Lake Ellis at the eastern slopes through Chogoria Gate, this forms one of the sites or wonders that people can now explore. We are working with the county government to try to exploit Gakeda Forest. Gakeda Forest is an elephant maternity that is not known to many. But this is a critical habitat that we are working, Kenya Wildlife Service and Wildlife Research Training Institute, together with the county government of Tharaka Nithi, to try to see how it can be opened up and explored for tourism experiences, besides just Lake Ellis.
The benefit, do ask that question and ask the Kenyans. You see, yes, I'm actually happy to hear their settlements. If people understood the benefit that could accrue to them because of their proximity to this resource, they more than anybody else would probably support it. But they have to see the benefit. Given the uniqueness, and given that tourism is a serious income earner, it is something that that very county could benefit enormously from. So even as you plan and even as you think about it, I am looking at something which isn't difficult or an impossibility, because the resource and the value is clear. Now it's a question of the focus.
Yeah.
So let me ask the question: where's the impediment? Who should we talk to?
I may not be in a position to respond to whom should we talk to, but of course the national wildlife policy has embedded the sharing of benefits of wildlife resources. It's an issue of activating how would these benefits be shared, how these benefits, how these wildlife resources first be co-managed, because you can't just access benefits if you've not co-managed. There's this aspect of co-managing that needs to come first. Once it is understood and the community understand their roles, which when brought to them through public participation, they'll understand their roles and they are willing, which we know community have always been willing to support conservation. They've always been. But again, now it's important to create this awareness so that they would understand the aspect of co-managing these resources. You can't just get what you have not managed or co-managed.
This is true.
Yes.
Let's take a break on that note. And I know you have a question, but we'll come after that and continue. This is interesting because in terms of money collected, what the plans are for the future, I still do believe that Kenyans should actually make up the highest percentage of tourist visits to these sites, that we keep beckoning and saying, let them come from outside. And we have a huge resource right here. Let's look at ways in which that can actually be done. After this break, it continues shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast.
Now, by the way, see, I thought you are...
Nilifikiri umefanya ile kitu.
No, I know what you are thinking.
Now, when you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital, they have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information.
You know that feeling where there is a pain at the back of your head? What? You almost want to... But what about that moment when the pain finally starts to fade away? That moment when you go back to ordinary. to being your best self again. And it feels so good.
Get effective release from strong pain with Panadol Extra. Panadol. Release starts here. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice. Always read label before use.
The weather with Spice FM.
14 and cloudy in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 22 and highs of 22 as well through Friday in Nakuru, currently at 16. It's 14 and cloudy in Nyeri with highs of 20, and we'll see highs of 21 in a sunny Eldoret at 14. Mombasa at 25 and Malindi at 26. It's 20 in Kisumu with 19 in Kakamega. Partly sunny conditions at 20 in Kampala, and at 23 it's sunny in Dar es Salaam. 10 degrees and mostly sunny in Johannesburg with highs of 19, while Mogadishu will see highs of 29 where it's cloudy at 27. It's 13 and sunny in Johannesburg, in Addis Ababa with highs of 19, while Lagos is cloudy at 24. Kinshasa at 22 is sunny. 31 and sunny going into Friday afternoon. Beijing at 17 and mostly cloudy in Paris, with a cloudy, windy morning at 18 in London. New York Thursday night is clear at 20. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 27 and lows of 18.
Spice up your life.
So we have definitely not had an issue with traffic this morning, and it's still a good traffic update. Means that we let you know how things are going through the city. On Kangunda Road, it just looks like a little bit of traffic is touching on Outer Ring, but Outer Ring is going to flow freely through the city, and I think we'll be okay. Coming round Muthaiga Square, this is off of Kiambu Road, just a little bit of that left, and Landis Road is then busy as you get towards Kamkunji, there at Haile Selassie. Uhuru Highway looks free and clear as you're getting into the city. A little at your junctions, you have a little bit here and there, but I think for the most part, we'll be fine. How about we talk through the day and the morning? SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversations continue for the next 21 minutes, and we're continually looking at, how then can Kenya leverage culture towards socio-economic development. And Kitavi Kaloki is the Assistant Director of Meru National Park, and we're using that as a springboard for conversations around the country. And Anki, you had a question as we were going to the break.
I actually just took it straight from the viewer, because I know you're speaking about communities and working with them. So I'm assuming there's somebody right from the community that lives around Meru. But of course, he's just asking about KWS. And this is Nduta Gikanyi. And he said, what is KWS doing to build better cabins and putting up latrines on Mount Kenya? I think something came up around Mount Kenya as well, so I picked that. So perhaps it's a concern you might want to respond to. It has been sent in by a viewer and a listener about putting up those social amenities around that area.
Yeah, thank you. Currently, we are having ambitious restoration programs, including rehabilitation of tourism infrastructure. Remember when we used to have an issue in China when they had the toilet revolution? It's the same thing, similar to what we are trying to embrace, where we are having all tourism infrastructure rehabilitated. Mm-hmm. We have already, with the support of our Director General, now we are able to improve on our facilities. Every park has been given the mandate, and every park warden has been given the role to ensure tourism infrastructure, not just the cabins and the toilets, including the roads, including the picnic facilities, are brought to standard, and we're having that support currently. Yes. All
right. Currently, I'm looking at fine. There's sounds to me like goodwill and a plan here and there, but do you have any specific timeline you could give these people? Perhaps in completion, this is what they're expecting. Is there a specific timeline towards this?
Actually, we are doing it.
All right.
We started doing
completion.
Now,
or we cannot complete.
We will. we should be able to complete because these works are most of these works are contracted and contracts have timelines. So these are the things we've started doing. We've started building new toilets that have value. For money for the visitor.
Exactly.
Yes, including all the facilities that would seem derelict in the past. Currently, we are doing our best to improve those facilities. Most of our guest houses and cottages have already been improved since late last year. We have new improved and furnished facilities as we go now to the roads and the picnic sites. Yes.
Okay. Who has control of the cultural attributes in this country? Of the parks, of the places whereby we say come for tourism? Who's got control over them?
Culture is about people and places. And here I want to believe the local governments, the people themselves are through the local governments, because local governments shape united cities where we have culture starts locally and it has to be interpreted locally. It has to be integrated and embedded through local governments for it now to be structured. We can have cultural values, but when they are not structured, they'll just remain cultural values and they will not be seen out. They will not be read aloud by the society. Now, for the community, we need, as I said, culture is becoming a key component in sustainable development. Until now, these values of beauty, of literacy, these are values of critical thinking, the sense of place, until they are structured through the local governments, the grassroots governments. That's when they are going to be understood that the people have the complete control of these values, and now they can be now intertwined and integrated with sustainable tourism. Yeah.
How does this marry with whether they are narratives or realities of external parties, non-Kenyans, having control in the conversation?
Researchers have it that group values have an influence on an individual's behavior in terms of towards environment and sustainability of that environment until the community is given or until the community understands their role, until we have that influence that the local community who have preserved this culture that has not come out, until they have that trigger of cultural aspect being intertwined as part of the dimension, the fourth dimension in the sustainable development. It's difficult because lack of culture as a component has made sustainable development incomplete. It cannot be completed when it's ingrained as part of the dimensions towards sustainable development. Yeah.
So, it's still on the conservation conversation, right? Are there external parties who own pieces of Kenya? Who own pieces of Kenya that we are still saying that Kenyans should be responsible for owning in terms of culture? And if that's the case, how can Kenyans own something that has already been given to somebody else?
Yeah, I would say cultural values have been explicitly embedded in the traditions and values of the locals until recently, when now the rich nations have been able to envision these values to develop themselves. These values have been explicitly within our traditional values and cultures. And I wouldn't say there are external forces speaking on behalf of our cultural values. What I would say is that we need to understand our identity. Every cultural orientation, if we understand our identity, if we understand we have beauty in identity, we have harmony in identity. If we are able to understand the various diverse cultural orientations, bring about competition, they bring about diversity, it will be difficult unless it is structured for the communities to understand the identity.
Okay, so let me ask it this way.
Yes.
Are there foreigners in Kenya who are controlling the areas that we are saying will be able to, that we can leverage on towards socioeconomic development?
I may not be privy to that. Yeah, convincingly enough to tell Kenyans that we have external forces that are in complete control of cultural values and systems. Yeah.
Allow me to also, because that's a question that's very, very important. You're talking about ownership. We know how these things work. And you said community is very integral. They have to accept you. They have to trust you, to conserve and to also keep these places where we have, like you said, very unique animals, etc. But as a serving, allow me to call you, is it officer? Is that okay?
Warden.
Warden? Okay.
Yes.
Do you, in your own, interpretation or retrospect, believe that Kenyans have confidence, all right, in your service, all right, because this is what community owns, what they should be benefiting from. This is our property as Kenyans. But as an organization this morning, having interacted with the Kenyans, pieces of, articles out there, etc., do you believe that the Kenyans watching this morning and even those in Meru and all over have confidence in KWS to be honest with them in as far as these conservancies are concerned?
Yeah, remember.
And now, what are you doing then to keep that confidence alive?
Remember, here we are talking of national parks and conservancies, where Kenya Wildlife Service has the sole responsibility of conserving and managing the national parks for the benefit of Kenyans, where we have an oversight role in the management of the conservancies. Conservancies are community landscapes which could be managed through trusts. And here, as KWS, we provide technical expertise in the management of these conservancies. We don't have that complete control in the management of conservancies. And maybe the stories that may have come about is because the community themselves, I would believe through public participation, they would grant custody and rights to this trust to manage these landscapes on their behalf. That's where perhaps we have the dilemma why this is happening. Perhaps we don't trust this group of people whom we gave this land to manage on our behalf. But as Kenya Wildlife Service, we also provide that technical capacity to be able to tell the community the level of this ownership. We see Kenya Wildlife Service being pulled into this management of conservancies. Where are we? What is your role as Kenya Wildlife Service? Of course, since most of these conservancies are community landscapes, and community landscapes are held in custody by the county governments. Now we have land has been devolved through the county governments. It's an issue of the county government trying to now inform the community what their responsibilities and their roles are by having employed a trust or a group of people to manage this landscape on their behalf.
Could you do something for me, please?
Yes.
Explain to us what is a reserve, what is a national park, what is a conservancy?
Yeah, national parks are landscapes that are owned and managed by the national government purely, and Kenya Wildlife Service has been entrusted custody and management, conservation of these landscapes, whereas we have national reserves which are under the management of county governments. Of course, we have a few national reserves which we co-manage, like Shimba Hills National Reserve, Marsabit National Reserve, Kakamega Forest National Reserve. We co-manage with the county governments and the communities. But most of the national reserves are managed by the county governments. Community conservancies also are community landscapes which are registered and managed through the county governments. So Kenya Wildlife Service would only have complete oversight role of the national parks and some role to the national reserves and community conservancies through leadership and technical capacity.
So which are the national parks that we have in this country?
We have 23 national parks.
23?
Yes.
Okay.
I would mention them. We have Lake Nakuru National Park, Amboseli, Meru National Park being where I manage. We have Mount Kenya National Park, Aberdare National Park. We have Saiwa National Park. We have Nairobi National Park, of course. We have Sibiloi National Park at the extreme north, Malkamari in Mandera National Park. We have marine national parks and marine national reserves, like Mombasa Marine National Park and Mombasa Marine National Reserve. We have Malindi Marine Park and Malindi Marine National Reserve. Kisite Mpunguti, which is Marine National Park and Reserve. Watamu Marine National Park and Reserve. Arabuko Sokoke is a national reserve. Shimba Hills is a national reserve. Marsabit is a national reserve. These national reserves I'm mentioning, they're the ones we co-manage with the county governments. But we also have several other national reserves, like Losai National Reserve in Marsabit County. We have South Kitui National Reserve, Mwingi National Reserve in Kitui County, as well as Bisanadi National Reserve in Isiolo County. These are under the custody and management of the county governments purely. Yeah.
Okay. The famous Mara?
Mara is a national reserve managed by Narok County government. There's been this misconception that is under Kenya Wildlife Service, but it's under full custody and management of Narok County government.
The famous Savo and Amboseli?
Savos are national parks. Both Savos, Savo West, Savo East, and Cholo Hills. That is the Savo ecosystem and full custody and management of Kenya Wildlife Service. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. I just remembered the days when we would be, bundled up in a school bus and taken in to have some good time as children.
Yes.
And I just thought of it. That's on a very light note, how the children are able to appreciate this, beautiful conservancies for themselves. How are you interacting with the education and learning institutions? It might not be your exact place, but I mean, you do love that children would equally learn, get access, not in a very heavy way, but we also have to build a community that starts from, the youngest age as they grow up to appreciate what we have for their socioeconomic benefits as well, not just at the older age, but as young children. How is the engagement, or what do you really experience?
Yeah, of course, community engagement and education awareness is a program. This is a structured program. Of course, we have a handbook. We work through management plans. We don't just work haphazardly.
Yes.
It's through these management plans that we have a community program and education awareness as a program on its own, where we have we engage both the communities, which we call community outreaches, through local barazas, through national government administrative officers. Purely we engage the community, the locals. And besides, we also do school programs.
Nice.
Some of the programs where we have schools bordering the parks, we call them Know Your Park program, where we talk to the school management. We are able to go take the children from school to the park using our own resources.
Nice.
But those schools that are a bit far from the park, we also encourage and we do education activities. We have an education department that goes to schools. They have a work plan for mid-term plans for every 3 months. Of course, we have an annual work plan where we are able now to put our programs all together, and we usually go to these schools to tell them about what they expect when they come to the park and what we have. Yes.
Exciting.
So how much in terms of revenue, because revenue is a big deal, when we look at now leveraging against, of course, culture against socioeconomic development, big ticket item for socioeconomic development is money. How much are we looking at that comes in terms of revenue from these areas on an annual basis?
It depends because currently I wouldn't speak for the national revenues. I'll purposely speak for the park revenue, that is Meru National Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the national revenues, perhaps the country generates close to 4 to 6 billion in a year for revenues from the parks. Yeah, and it depends on the how the park has been packaged. Because these parks have been categorized according to their heterogeneity. We have premium parks, we have wilderness parks, we have the sanctuaries, and we have these scenic parks. So revenues for each and every park is the revenue generation is different depending on how these products have been packaged. Yeah.
Okay, ballpark, for example, in a year
for the entire country or for Meru National Park.
Okay, give us Meru and then we can do a thing with math.
Meru National Park, I would say an average of between 70 to 100 million
per year
annually. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that could be multiplied?
Of course, yes.
How?
Through aggressive marketing, through engaging partnerships. Yeah, we have areas in other countries where public-private partnerships have been done, and I'm not sure how they've been performed. It's something we may perhaps could look into, but it's something that I cannot speak in detail about it because we haven't delved into public-private partnerships as Kenya Wildlife Service currently. Yeah.
Some of these things are low-hanging fruit. The minute you mentioned the Special 5, something that I've never heard,
I know.
And even from a touristic point of view, I mean, when I was first coming to Kenya and I knew the wildlife and stuff is that you'd be interested in, never heard about the Special 5.
Special 5.
And if there's low-hanging fruit and there's stuff that you can pick up on to even get Kenyans to come and see for a weekend, how far is Meru from Nairobi? By road?
Meru is 350 kilometers from
Give
Nairobi.
or take 4 hours?
By road? 4 or 5 hours. By air is 45 minutes. Flight.
Wait, you have an airstrip there?
Yeah, we have 3 airstrips, commercial airstrips.
I've not visited Meru before.
Yeah.
Come on, city.
There's so many
That's
things
for
that
me.
can be done. I think so. And to be able to leverage what is already available. You're not going to buy anything from anywhere. You're not building anything. It is there.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of work that can actually be done to ensure that this socioeconomic activity that we're talking about can actually be a thing of reality when it comes to how counties and how people can actually benefit. So, I mean, thanks for being here this morning. I think there are greater conversations that can be had in terms of what can be done. But in terms of an idea, I think it's one that is ready and ripe for the picking. Kitavi Kaloki is the Assistant Director of the Meru National Park, has been our guest this hour. Thank you for being here and we'll hope for future conversations. And thank
pleasure.
you all for being part of Kenya. Thank you for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation this week. And also, you know, just being part of that every day. Anki, you've been stellar in terms of being a guest host this week. Thank you for being here. And we will do it again, I insist.
This is what you did last time and I got stuck here.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We'll do it again
Love
next
you.
week on
Thank
Monday
you.
by 6 a.m., God willing. Have a great weekend.
Spice up your life.
It's now 10 a.m. Get effective relief from strong pain with Panadol Extra. Panadol. Relief starts here.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm La Ubaga. Bus carrying